Columbus, Georgia, this is your City Council. Mayor Teresa Tomlinson. City Manager Isaiah Hughley. Pops Barnes, District 1. Glenn Davis, District 2. Bruce Huff, District 3. Evelyn Turner Pugh, Mayor Pro Tem and District 4. Mike Baker, District 5. Gary Allen, District 6. Mimi Woodson, District 7. Walker Garrett, District 8. Judy Thomas, Post 9 at-large Counselor. John House, Post 10 at-large Counselor. And City Attorney Clifton Fay. Columbus, Georgia, this is your City Council.
Right, good evening everyone and welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Columbus City Council. This is our last business meeting for the month of August and we're so glad to have you with us. We want to go ahead and get started with our invocation this evening. We have Dr. Tim Jones of the Britt David Baptist Church who's going to get us started, and he's going to provide the invocation consistent with his faith tradition. Hello, Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate you asking me today. Thank you. And council members, and I would call you a congregation from where we're from, yes. So I just simply invite you to pray with me tonight. Lord Jesus, we come to you tonight to ask your blessings over today and tonight. We thank you for the day. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to gather together in this particular setting, in this meeting. Father, tonight I pray for these council men and women that you would provide them with great wisdom, wisdom that goes beyond their experience, wisdom that goes beyond their own platforms. Father, we ask your wisdom because tonight they will discuss matters that are important to our city. And we know that your word says that if anybody lacks wisdom to ask you for it and that you will provide it liberally and without reproach. We ask that in faith and with no doubting. Your word says that if we doubt, that it's like a wave that is driven by the wind, tossed to and fro. And we're steady tonight, trusting that you will provide the wisdom that's needed and required for this particular session. Father, we know that there's so many issues that divide our city, but you're the great unifier. Through Jesus Christ, there is unity within any body, including a civic body. And so, Father, we pray that you would simply have your will and your way among our great city. We ask your blessings upon these as individuals and corporately tonight as a body. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Dr. Jones, thank you so very much. We appreciate all you do for the community and all your congregation does for the community as well. So thank you for being here. All right, we've got the Columbus Parks and Rec Rigdon Road after school program here this evening. They're going to come forward and prepare to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So as they come and gather up here and Tiasha gets them organized, if you all would stand and prepare to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. You guys did so good. Thank you so much. Will you introduce yourselves? Tell us your name and how old you are.
My name is Armando Rambo. I'm 8 years old. My name is Shonda Bose, and I'm 9 years old.
My name is Janiyah Darable, and I'm 8 years old.
My name is Marquise Buford, and I'm 7 years old.
My name is Kayla Darable, and I am 7 years old.
My name is Imani Whitaker, and I'm 4.
Okay, all right.
My name is Marcel Brockington. I'm 9. My name is Khalil Williams, and I'm 10.
My name is Khalees Owens, and I'm 10.
My name is Taylor Smith, and I'm 10.
My name is Lamaria Boer, and I'm 7.
All right, and you've got some leaders here with you. You all want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Hello.
What's that?
My name's David McKay, and I brought this wonderful bunch of students here, and we appreciate you having us.
Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you for what you do. I think we have a few parents in the crowd. If you're parents, proud parents of their pledgers, please stand up and let us wave at you. Well, thank y'all for being here. Let's give you. Well, I hope you guys come back again real soon. So thank you for helping us out tonight.
You let us know we'll be there.
Thank you. All right, we've got a long agenda, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a request tonight from John Redmond, our internal auditor. If you come forward, please, John. He wants to request a departmental authorization for a departmental audit of Metra.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Manager, members of council, Mr. Attorney. It's good to see you again tonight. We're wrapping up several of our audits. We got a couple of short ones that we're finishing up, and we'd like now to move into what a couple of years ago we had planned to be a transition audit, but now it's just going to be a departmental audit. We don't want to call it a transition audit because we've had a leader in there now for a couple of years, so we wouldn't want to do that. It might imply something wrong. But anyway, I'd like to ask that you authorize us to do a departmental audit of Metra.
Okay. Is there there's a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? Any discussion related to this item? All right. All those in favor? Well, let's see. Is this one, Bruce, we've got queued up? Can they do it electronically? Okay. If you would, record your votes electronically. All right, and it does pass. Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
We
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
all you do. Okay, and as you all know that are regular watchers of our meetings, we have a Director of Crime Prevention, Seth Brown. We're going to call him forward, and he comes forward once a year with grant recommendations, and this year he has quite a few, and so we look forward to hearing about all the great programs that are going to help the community, help the kids in this community, and help grow opportunities and reduce crime. So, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for having me here. I wanted to hit a couple of points of the programs that y'all funded last year. We're still getting data from those individuals, but for most part, we have all the data in. But the key thing in all these programs is education is key to fulfilling a more a crime-less society, I should say. We had 3,500 plus participants that were treated. Of those, 80% of those were students within Muskogee County school systems. PAIR, which is a program through Springer, they had a 65% decrease in office referrals, discipline referrals, and this was huge to me. A 93% decrease in suspension days within Fox Elementary.
Wow.
Fox, they're operating out of Fox and East Columbus Magnet, and Fox had the most dramatic results. East Columbus Magnet also had significant results, but the 93% decrease, I had to read it a few times. The Boys and Girls Club has the DPI system, which stands for Delinquency Prevention Initiative. They had 59 juveniles referred, and of those, 61% of those completed the program, which meant 39 had completed. What that means is it's a significant decrease in the cost to taxpayers. These individuals are on the bubble of going to youth detention facilities or removed from the school system. And youth detention costs anywhere from $191 to a little over $200 a day for juveniles. This program total was $45,000 last year. So you're talking a significant decrease, and I'll go over that more when we go over the grants. The Music Matters program, 26% increase in academic achievement, 33% increase in language and reading skills. Girls Inc. had 520 girls involved, and through the Stride Right program, they saw a 97% increase in vocabulary and acquisition through literacy, 42% increase in reading comprehension, 83% increase in reading level or one full grade level. The Chattahoochee Valley Jail Ministry had 22 GEDs awarded, 106 participated. Y'all know that the GED program done through the Chattahoochee Valley Jail Ministry, that they have a 30% higher or lower recidivism rate over kids who don't go through anything. That is an amazing program. Neighborhoods Focused on African American Youth had 68% of its participants that increased their grades in every category. Second Chance Works, which is operating out of the alternative school, and also Carver and some of our other schools, had a 25% decrease in out-of-school suspensions. Let's see. The Boys and Girls DPI, I was telling you, it would cost $14,000 per day as opposed to $45,000 a year for those kids that we had go through the DPI system. So that's the significant tax savings. Open Door had 169 kids involved. Of those, 165 were below $10,000 a year in household income. 90% of those were above grade level in reading. 100% were promoted to the next grade level. 25% worked in music training. And I got two more. 427 adults were trained through Building Toward Wellness, which is a program that educates our community on sex trafficking and child sexual abuse. And through that program, we had 427 people trained to recognize those. If you're not aware, I'm sure you are, sex trafficking has become a significant problem in the state of Georgia. And so they were worked through that. We also had another program that did the same. Overflow, which is a ministry within itself. They do a multitude of things. Can't say enough about Gerald and his wife, who I think are here tonight. Well, Gerald's wife's here, Natasha. They had a video that came out that I think I shared with y'all. I can't remember. I know my board saw it, that talked about some of the people that they had impacted through their program, and it was shared 5,000 times. They worked with 130 kids this year, and they also do vocational, SWEET programs, academic advancement. There's a multitude of things. So I'm running really fast. I know. I just want to get y'all done. So now we're at the point of going over this year's list. Cue the footage. Okay, the first one is Big Brothers Big Sisters, recommended for $20,000. It's a mentoring program. They work with somewhere close to 150 to 200 kids each year between the ages of 6 to 17. As y'all know, that they take people that work with these children to spend time with them, go to the movies, help with homework, spend the day with them, those kind of things. Mayor, do you want me to go through each one? How do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I think maybe just
Okay, okay.
each one, and then if council
Okay.
has particular questions, I'm sure they'll
Yes, ma'am. Boys and Girls Club, I just told you about the DPI system, the Delinquency Preventive Initiative. They're requesting $45,000. They're referred through Muskogee County School System and through the juvenile court system. This year, they're planning to work with 60 children. These are the most at-risk kids that will probably be, as I said, going to the youth detention facility outside of working with DPI. They have a case manager also that works with them, each one of them. Bridge, requesting $18,000. They 50-plus participants each year. These are 18 to 23 is the average that they work with. These are significant risk individuals that have tried multiple times to get through this process, and Bridge spends the money that we provide. Bridge spends more time with these individuals as far as tutoring and that kind of stuff to get them through the GED process. Changing Faces Within, $10,000. The Changing Faces Within program is a mentoring, self-esteem program that operates out of the jail ministry. I know they've worked closely with Neil Richardson. They also follow these individuals, females, that are released from jail. They follow them through the process of release. We know that these individuals are extremely high risk when they're released from jail or prison, based on the fact that they usually go back to where they were because they have no other outlet or source. Changing Faces Within kind of stops that cycle as far as referring to them to other agencies and also working with them while they're in jail and prison. Let's see, Chattahoochee Valley Jail Ministry is the GED program that y'all are very familiar with, which has had huge success. 30% decrease over recidivism over the average program or no program. Columbus Community Center, local community center which services all Title I children, a very high-risk population where parents, a lot of single-family households where moms working late. These kids go there. They have homework help. They also have recreational help, those kind of things to monitor those children. Let's see, Columbus Police Department, $35,000 for the Dare to Be Great program, which is a summer program, which deals with all the way from elementary school into the middle school programs. It was a program unique to Columbus. They created it. They combined the Dare and the Great into one, and they operate out of, used to operate out of Fort Middle School and Double Churches, and I think they still operate out of Fort. We've had so much success with that, we've actually had residents in the community come to us and tell us how much they appreciate the program operating in their area. Let's see, Columbus Symphony Orchestra, which is operating the Music Matters program, is a string and percussion program that operates out of Downtown Elementary, Dawson, and Gentian. That was a program I told you recently we funded last year that had tremendous results as far as an increase in grades, and office deferrals were decreased as far as that went. Let's see, Family Center of Columbus, which is the FAST program. They operate out of 5 elementary schools. It's an intensive family program where they bring all members of the family in for therapy, homework help, meal time, recreation time, and it's a 90-day program. These kids are also children that have been referred by the counselors within their schools and have significant issues. Girls Inc. Girls Inc., $37,000. What we fund with Girls Inc. is the Stride Right program and the college prep program. Last year we had over 500 girls involved in that program. We saw significant increases in reading, math scores, their GRE scores, we can go down the list of all the different stuff that they had done well at. And then the college prep, they would have counselors Skype in from different colleges to talk to the girls about what it would take to get to the next level and how they could apply and the FAFSA applications and stuff like that. Next page. Hope Harbor for $29,000. The initiatives that we fund with Hope Harbor are not specifically to the center itself. It's for education of the community, of individuals, and also resources to those people as far as counseling and such like that. Lindsay will take their show on the road, I should say, to basically educate women on what it takes to get out of that situation. We know that those people that are with a person of violence tend to get wrapped up in that same violence, and also if we can break the cycle with them, a lot of times we can break the cycle with the husband or spouse or partner itself. Let's see, Let's Grow STEAM, $35,000. Let's Grow STEAM is it is a conglomerate of things. It is a soapbox, education, job fair, after-school tutoring, STEM classes, a little bit of everything. Last year they had a job fair at, or an education/job fair at the Trade Center, and had, I want to say, 4,000 children attend from all the different schools. Same thing with the Soapbox Derby. They have also some corporate sponsors that help them with that get involved and help the kids with building the programs and things of that nature. Let's see, Liberty Theater. Liberty Theater is one that I've been in discussions with Dr. Anderson on multiple occasions. She's already had the program in place, and then she and I met over the past year multiple times to make sure that what they were doing was really good for what the needs would be for our community. That program deals with Baker Middle School, young men in there, and men that just have problems as far as education, as far as anger, as far as, being still in school, whatever it takes. And Dr. Anderson works with these through mentors, through educators, tutoring. There's just a multifaceted program that's dealing with some of our most at-risk men. That's 8th grade and it's 8th grade, and then there's a 9th grade class that rolls over into it. So they've got a double exposure, but those 8th graders have 2 years in the program eventually. Literacy Alliance. The Literacy Alliance this year, the board wanted to fund $30,000 for kindergarten awareness and adult literacy. Those were the two facets they felt that they could have the most bang for the buck. Obviously, adult literacy is tied hand in hand with crime prevention. We know that literacy rates go hand in hand with what we see as far as crime numbers, and so they felt that was an important program to fund. Muskogee County Marshal's Office has the Junior Marshal Program. The board wanted to fund $10,000 towards that program. Yeah, I'm sure y'all are very familiar with the program. The Junior Marshals Program is usually those individuals are the ones that greet you at the door. When I've spoken to other schools, it's been a junior marshal that's kind of greeted me at the door to help me get through wherever I need to navigate. But it's a multi-planned program that centers around leadership and skills and grades and working with law enforcement, and they go to see Judge McBride to see what a court system's like, to learn more about the legal system. So it's got a lot of different facets to it. Let's see. Neighborhood Focus on African American Youth operates out of Farley Homes and Elizabeth Caney. It is an after-school program that deals with tutors. Cheryl Bursch runs that program, and she's been in Columbus for 15 years. We have only funded her, I think, for 4 years now. There's a lot of these have different aspects to them, but hers teaches leadership. It teaches parenting skills to the parents. They have to be involved in some way, shape, or form. It has after-school tutoring. It has a STEM program involved. They have access to computers that they utilize for homework. If there's more intensive needs, they bring in a tutor from the outside, from the school system, that will educate them on whether it be science or math or whatever the needs are. So she kind of spearheads that area. They also do virtual college tours where they'll look to see basically where these kids can be enlightened about what their options are, so to speak. Office of Dispute Resolution, $21,000. It's the legitimation station is what most people know it by. What it does is it provides legal help to fathers who do not have access to their children. Unbeknownst to me, the state of Georgia does not give fathers who have not been legitimized a whole lot of options when it comes to their children. And this helps to basically put that father back in the child's life. We know through statistics that is instrumental in raising the child, and that is what the legitimation station does. Open Door Community, they have a program that's after school, which deals with children that are on the severe poverty range. As I had said, that 93% of the kids involved have a household income of $10,000 or less. These children are provided tutoring, manners programs, and just after-school care for the most part. But it's very intensive from the fact that everything's centered around education, and it occurs at Open Door. The Overflow Outreach Program, I just spoke about the Rileys and how they're running that program. That's several different programs rolled into one. One of them is the Mannequin House, where they work with these kids, and it could be anything from they're having issues and they need to talk to somebody, or they, work on homework, or their program. The building that they operate out of is downtown in the historic district. They have another building that is the actual barbershop, which is off Macon Road, where they have a sweepers program where they bring these kids in and they can sweep up or whatever, and they can earn a little extra money. But what the kids don't realize, and I would encourage anybody just to go look at it. Some of y'all have probably been there before, but the kids don't realize they're being mentored while they're just in this environment. It is unique to watch how much love centers around just this group of these kids that are hanging out in this building. Their hopes are to expand. They've got way more kids than they can help at this point. So hopefully that will happen in the future. Anyway, that's the Overflow program. Right from the start, $25,000 for a family wellness program. This was a program that we had wanted to do last year that y'all actually approved to fund, but they had split away from the Pastoral Institute, and it changed all the contracts and everything, and we just couldn't fund it legally. We had to back out of the contract. So this year they ran the program last year without us, and this year they're going to do it again. It occurs at 4th Street Baptist, South Columbus United Methodist, and it is a parenting program. The doctrine comes from a military program that we went to Pastoral Institute, where the director or the president of Pastoral Institute had ran this in Texas, And I had told him, I said, we really need something to help that parenting aspect of where we're lacking so much. I said, we have, kids raising kids in some cases, or people that just don't know any better, and how do we fix that? And so he sat down with right from the start, and they basically organized this program that's occurring in churches. It is not religious-based, because we don't fund that, but it is a hardcore parenting type program to encourage the enrichment of the family. Springer Opera House, the PAIR program for $41,000. I just told you the PAIR program and how much success they've had. The reduction in expulsion days alone was shocked us. The 93% reduction was significant. We've also seen increases in grades of those kids, as well as a significant decrease in violence or outburst in class, because now they have been given the tools to deal with problems that don't involve their fist or yelling or whatever the case may be. Teen Advisors for $25,000. We don't fund the actual Teen Advisors program as a whole. We fund what's called Elevate and Impact, which deals with 5th graders and 9th graders, because those are the two most at-risk populations that we have. We've seen that they're going into middle school or they're in high school. So the Impact and the Elevate program work hand in hand with each other to try to target these kids specifically to prevent them from going down certain roads that have significant high-risk behavior. The Works program is operating out of, for $35,000, is operating out of Carver this past year. We saw a significant decrease in out-of-school suspensions through them. They're working in AIM also. They're looking to move into Kendrick, because we've seen an increase in expulsions at Kendrick and violent behavior. So Dr. Cox said that would be, Dr. Flowers said that would be a good program that we could move into there. The school system has been very supportive of it, and we've seen some dramatic decreases in violent behavior because of Dr. Flowers' program. It's got, like I said, it's got multiple levels of achievement, but he's gotten really good at placing some strong mentors in these, for the most part, young men's lives, to try to counteract some of the behavior that we're seeing in the schools itself. The YMCA, $20,000. This program, the program that they're implementing in Columbus is a nationwide program that they have, that they wanted to bring to Columbus. It is a leadership / mentoring / tutoring type program for at-risk young men. So it will occur at the MLKY, but if you look in the application, it'll say D.A. Turner, but that's just where their main office is. But it will occur at Martin Luther King YMCA. The last one is the Young Life program for $25,000. This program targets young females, teen pregnancy and graduation rates, and their school at this point, their target school is Carver High School, and it is a unique program that was written by them to specifically deal with those areas within Carver High School at this point. If it's successful, they will expand it into other schools as they go forward. And that's it.
All right. Boy, you've been busy. It's a lot of good information. Let's see if we have anybody that has any questions. We've got Counselor Thomas.
Mayor, I don't have a, excuse me, I don't have a question, but Mr. Brand, if you would, for the folks that are watching, would you go over just a little bit of the process that the office goes through to get to the point where you are recommending these grants?
Yes, ma'am. February starts the cycle for the most part. I will get a lot of people, January, February, contacting me, calling me, wanting me to visit with them to discuss, the aspects of the application. What do I see? What do I don't see? What's good? What's bad? That kind of stuff. So I just kind of give them advice. Here's kind of what the board likes to see, this information. And then March 31st is the deadline. So at that point, March 31st, they start rolling in. From that point, the next board meeting, which would be in April, the board will get, depending on how many we have, they get, this year they had, I think, 32 applications. So they would get 10 at a time, and the last one they got 12. They will spend 2 weeks reviewing those applications, those 10 that I gave them, and then they'll come back as a board and spend probably the next 2 hours in that 2-week mark reviewing those 10 they had. Then they'll say, let's say they had 2 that just really didn't match up at all. It just didn't fit in the needs of what the city was looking for in crime prevention. They would take those 2 aside and say, okay, these 8 fit inside the guidelines of what's needed. These 2 just don't quite work. They're not bad applications, they just probably just don't fit. So then they take those 8 and they slide those aside, and then they do the next 10 or the 11 and then the next 11. When they finish with all that process, and by this time I'm doing all spreadsheets and stuff for them and send them information, their notes and all that, what they've done. Then I give, at the end, they take, let's say they ended up with, like this time I think it was 26. They have 26 left at the end, and then they start trying to figure out, okay, this program should be allotted this much money based on their needs, their requirements, how long have we funded them before, have they not? And that board, that 7-person board, kind of does all that, moves all the pieces around. But it's about, let's say March, April, May. It's about a 3.5, 4-month process from start to finish.
And so, that board is the entity that decides who gets the grant recommendation.
Right. I call them an advisement board, because technically they have no power. They advise me what they want to bring to y'all, and then it comes here, and then this body votes on it. So I consider it like a double process almost. They have to approve it, and then I got to come here and get y'all to approve it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We've got Counselor Barnes.
And I'm glad you asked that question, Judy. I'd like to add that the members of this, what I like about it is that you have those members of the council that actually go and they ferret out information. They actually check these organizations to make sure that what they receive in writing is actually so. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've heard so many times that people think that you choose, and it's just really the opposite.
Yes.
And I really do like the fact that your committee members do go out and investigate, because you want to, this is taxpayers' money. And we need to really be good stewards to make sure that these organizations are doing essentially what they're told to do.
Yes, sir.
And I like to also add, because I know that you do, I know you don't want me to be saying this, but you also go out, a number of the individuals have come to me and told me that you have gone to. So I like this program. I'm really thankful for the fact, because there are a lot of organizations in this community that have good hearts and good intentions. But as everyone knows, you've got to have those dead presidents in order to do anything.
Yes, sir.
And so, right, you know, it's an unfortunate situation that people who have really good, and I know of many more out there that that need to apply for funding. But there are many organizations, what I like, that even individuals that have come to you that I know, and you've taken the time to explain to them that they need to be a 501c3.
Yes, sir.
And you're going through the steps. The reason I know that, because I've sent them to you.
Yes, sir.
And so I appreciate all that you and the individual members of the board do, because you do work extremely hard and whatever. And unless any of the members of council have an objection, I'd like to make a motion for us to grant the funding for these programs here.
So that is a motion to approve items 1 through 26. A second? Is there any further discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, you may record your votes. And it does pass.
Thank you, Mayor.
Seth. Do you have members of your committee here?
I'm not sure if I have board, I have well, yep.
There we go. Okay.
This right here is the backbone of my board.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I have anybody else here or not. I don't see anybody. You speak.
Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Council. Lorraine Moore, I'm the Chair of the Crime Prevention Board, and I just wanted to say thank you for trusting us with the city's funds through this process. We really try to be diligent and thoughtful to those organizations that are interested in helping the community prevent crime. So thank you for trusting us.
Well, thank you for what you guys do. It's a ton of work, and we're so appreciative for that.
Mayor, can I say
Yes.
one thing? I want to thank you. This is the last time you got to sit through this.
That's right.
And I appreciate the guidance you gave us, where you put us, and actually there were many times where you pushed me in some areas that I didn't feel very comfortable going as far as working with different programs, and it turned out great. And I think that the success of the office a lot lies in the direction that you gave us, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Board members also, we have an incredible board that was selected by this council, and it's, I'm very, very fortunate to have the job that I do. And I would say the same thing to you, Councilor Baker. Going to miss your presence up there. You've always had lots of questions, and you've always been very supportive of this office. Like I said, it's my pleasure to be able to sit here and do this job day after day. So,
Councilor.
Thanks, Ed. You've done a superb job. And you know, I guess back when it all started with Mayor Weatherington, I did have a lot of questions. And I think I even voted against the creation of the office because I was concerned about another department head, whether he could afford it.
yes, sir.
So I was one of the ones that voted against it. But you've done an outstanding job.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Because if everybody doesn't know, the feds aren't going to come help us. The state's not. It's on us. And if we don't go into these places and help these kids and do these things, these type of programs, we're not going to attack the cycle. You can't just, police everybody. You've got to hit it from both sides. And these programs are crucial
Yes, sir.
to breaking that cycle, keeping these kids off the street and out of trouble, and then we do what we can on the public safety side.
Yes, sir.
But if we don't attack it from both sides, we're never going to make
Yes,
any
sir.
progress. So thanks to you and your
Thank you.
board. Lorraine, thank you so much for what
It-
y'all have done. You've done an outstanding job.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
and what Councilor Baker says and what you've mentioned, Seth, is so important because, we have a lot of debate in our community always about crime, right? And one of the things we are seeing where this program and law enforcement's really making a difference, where the OLOST, the investment the citizens made, is making a difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that on property crimes, we're down almost 50%. That is unheard of. And those are your entry-level crimes. Those are the ones where we're arresting 14-year-olds and 13 and 15 and 16-year-olds. And then 10 years later, those kids are the hardened criminals who are committing the violent crimes.
Yes, ma'am.
And so right now, here we are 10 years, basically, from when we invested in the OLOST. And we used to have 15,500 crimes a year. Over half of those were property crimes. And in those 10 years, those kids, those 13, 14, 15-year-olds have graduated to some of the ones that were pulling off the streets in the headlines today, right? But now we're down to, less than half of that. And so we're making less criminals. In 6, 7, 8, it won't even be that long, but you're going to start seeing tremendously less and less and less violent crimes because less people are entering the field of crime. Less kids are entering that field. And so soon, I hope to see that the violent crime rate is cut in half as well. And it's
Yes,
going to be
ma'am.
because of initiatives like this. So I commend Council, Mayor Weatherington, all those folks who went out on faith, and the citizens who invested in opportunities like this to make a huge, huge difference. So thank you. We have Councilor Huff.
Congratulations to you and your board.
Yes, sir.
If you would, have all the participants from the different organizations to please stand. Thank you all for your diligence and all that you do to try to make this city better. I pray that I'll have more time this year to get around and see you all, because I like to be around the kids and see what's going on, because it's It's a difference. I spoke Saturday morning at Spencer's and stated the fact that my mother was a school teacher. So I'm always interested in the fact that you don't give up on kids. Some have a rougher route, a rougher trail to blaze than others. And those of us that have had an opportunity to get the education, get through the process, and get a good job, sometimes we don't have time to look back. So thank you for taking time to spend with them, and I'm going to dedicate a little bit more time myself to come and check on what you're doing. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Seth, again, thank you, and to all of
ma'am.
you all, thank you for your hard work, and congratulations on your grants.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Okay, our next item is an action item. We have a request for the approval of the minutes from July 31, 2018, which was an executive session, and the August 14th, 2018 council meeting. We have a motion and a second for the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any changes? All right, all those in favor, please state aye. Okay. And we will head then into the city attorney's agenda. Mr. Fay.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. The first item up is the vote on a moratorium for special exception uses type 2 and 3 personal care homes. It's ready for action.
We've got a motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, you may record your votes. And let's see, do we have everybody? Looks like there's one. Mayor Pro Tem, you need to hit it again. Okay, and it does pass.
All right, next we have a public hearing, a zoning matter at Old Guard Road. This is going from residential estate 1 to residential office multifamily use. Mr. Mize is here, the applicant, and it's recommended for approval. If there are any questions around the table, Mr. Mize can certainly come up.
It doesn't appear to be at this time.
George, if you would. Come on up, George. They want a brief description of the project, if you don't mind.
Did you?
Be glad to. My name is George Mize. I'm with the law firm of Page Crown, and I am your applicant. The developer in this particular situation is Greystone Properties. Of course, local, well-respected developer, having developed over 4,000 multifamily units and about 2,000 single-family units. But what they're proposing today, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation, but this will just give you an idea of what we're proposing. This is the conceptual layout. But what Mr. White is proposing to do is 256 units on 57 acres of land. That's about 15% of the density that would ordinarily be allowed under the RO classification under the UDO. So that's a combination, of course, of there's some challenging topography there, plus it's just consistent with the developments that Mr. White does, kind of an upscale, less dense type development. And there are specific questions. I mean, I'm happy to go through everything, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's very consistent with surrounding properties. To the west, you see the Old Town also surrounding the property. You've got Walden Pond Apartments, you've got Summit Point Luxury Apartments and Villas, you've also got Lower Water Apartments, and you got Greystone at the crossing. So you're talking about a use that is consistent with the surrounding properties. It's been approved unanimously by the PACT, and it's been approved by your planning department.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
If there are no other questions, we'll ask the audience if anybody else wanted to be heard. Okay, don't see any hands. We'll vote on that in 2 weeks. No, is that 2 weeks, Ms. Clerk, or 3?
2.
2? All right, 2 weeks at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Next zoning item is a hearing for 9056 Veterans Parkway. This is going from residential estate to residential office. Also, applicant is Joel Womack. They are here. If you would give a brief description of the project, introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Yes, Joel Womack with EMC Engineering Services. I have with me Mr. Hill Fort with Magnolia Manor and Mitch Elliott with the architect. We also have a PowerPoint to kind of give a little brief description of the site.
Yeah, just to tell you a little bit about Magnolia Manor. We're a 55-year-old organization, faith-based ministry, serving senior adults, mostly in South Georgia, not-for-profit, 501c3. The heritage of our company started in the United Methodist Church in Americus, Georgia, and we are served by a volunteer board, most of which are in Americus, but 2 of which are in Columbus. We have 8 locations throughout South Georgia, starting in Americus, Macon, Moultrie, St. Simons, St. Mary's, Richmond Hill, Marion County, and then we also own a property here in Columbus. We have a total resident population of 1,307 and a staff of 952 throughout those 8 locations. In Columbus, we're already serving 296 residents and a staff of 286. The property that we've been in Columbus was on Warm Spring Road. It was the old Oak and Pine Manor facilities. We actually took over operation of those facilities in 2006, but we purchased them in 2011. This would be an additional property that we're looking at proposing, and Mitch is going to talk about the details of that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hill. My name is Mitch Elliott, architect with RDG Planning and Design, based out of Omaha, Nebraska. So we were the architects on the Spring Harbor project a few years back, so we love coming to Columbus and helping to create an impact for your older citizens. As you can see up here, the focus of this project is middle market. It's not the high-end market, but that middle market. It's got a full spectrum of care, so really from independent living to skilled nursing to even hospice. And it's a faith-based culture which really plays off of the core values and the culture that Magnolia is known for. So just to explain briefly what the proposed development includes. And this is based on a market study that was done last winter, and it targets the 2023 demographics and the needs as it relates to the primary market area. So we're looking at 24 independent cottages that would be an entrance fee model, 100 independent living apartments that are based on a rental model, 48 assisted living apartments, 30 assisted living memory care apartments, 72 skilled nursing long-term care beds, and we close out with 30 skilled nursing short-term rehabilitative beds for Medicare A. So the 72 beds are really catering to both Medicaid and the private pay market, and Medicare is really the short-term rehab. We continue as architects and planners and the development team to reframe and work on the site plan. So this is the most up-to-date site plan that we have. At the top of the sheet is Veterans Parkway. So we've broken all the rules on the fact that north is to the right rather than up in this document, but it formats better that way. So Veterans Parkway is to the top of the document, and Pierce Chapel Road is to the right of the document. The one difference that we've made is that the main entrance to the retirement community is off of Pierce Chapel Road, and there's only one entrance. So we've pulled that away from the intersection of Veterans Parkway and Pierce Chapel Road. The research that we've done, that has been a bit of a suspect interchange, and so we want to pull the traffic patterns back as far as we can to maintain a safe environment for our team members, for our elders, and anyone that may be coming to this campus. What we're showing as we develop the drawings and the design is, and we're working through the branding of this with Magnolia Manor, but it's really a lodge at Magnolia Manor. It's going to have a lodge feel, a lodge motif. It's really going to be casual, a casual setting, but very residential in quality. And I don't necessarily have a way, can I point with this, Bruce? Is it a touch?
Yes, touch. Colors here, and then just take your finger.
Oh, okay. So we have a primary, the primary entrance to the building will be to the east. And that's where we have a number of our common areas within the space. Then we have in this area, that's a 3-story assisted living portion of the building. On the northwest corner of the property is 3 stories of skilled nursing. Then we have 4 stories of independent living apartments on a rental basis. And then as you will see, the balance of the property are the 24 entrance fee cottages, single story, 2-car garage, 0 entry level, so it really caters to the needs of the elders. That gives a snapshot. It was interesting, my Uber driver today bringing me from the airport to the hotel explained that she attends Pierce Chapel Church, and she was frustrated with us because we were going to wipe out all the trees. Well, I had to help her understand that it is not our intent, nor is it allowed to wipe out all the trees. We really have a perimeter buffer zone on all 4 sides of the property that we will be preserving the heavily wooded area. Then we're also working with our landscape architects to create, it's really a lodge in the woods, so we're creating the landscaping necessary to create a very organic outdoor and indoor space within the property. So as you can see, the outline of the trees, it's a bit diagrammatic, but it shows what those spaces will look like. Oh my gosh. Now I need to erase. Clear all. That would not have been helpful in the rest of it. So the proposed development to schedule. Magnolia Manor Board has a very critical review in October as the board gathers. They gathered last April as we presented the master plan for the site and the concepts. And what we do is we look at developing the master plan, the site plan, and a business model to make sure that everything works the way it should be so that it's a sustainable development for Magnolia Manor and for the community of Columbus. Assuming approval by the board, and there are many checkpoints that the board have to make sure that this is a viable project walking through, from November to June of next year, we as architects and engineers will be completing the documents. Magnolia Manor will have, again, a second opportunity to review in April to make sure that all the numbers are working out, things are aligning. We will go through a GMP, or a guaranteed maximum pricing exercise with Sheridan Construction. Sheridan is the general contractor, the construction manager of choice. They're based out of Macon, and Magnolia Manor has a long and successful history with Sheridan. That's in the early part of the summer. They will be working on that pricing exercise. All things working together for the good. We will be looking at a September construction start and a construction completion of January 2021. Take time to start up. Resident move-ins as early as March 2021. So that gives you a sense of the pace, the rhythm, and the development schedule that we will have. Again, it's all predicated on us doing a good job as architects and engineers, the business model working for the Magnolia Manor board as we walk forward. Now, what is the community impact? I'm going to share you some numbers. At this point in time, we're looking at $60 million worth of construction that would happen on the campus. We're not phasing the construction, so this will be all completed in about that 18-month period of time. Now, what we're looking at is 190 full-time equivalent employees, and when you combine that with part-time employees, that's about 250 new employees that will be working on this campus, and that's at the point of stability, which is about 2024, 2025. That won't happen day one as we work through anywhere from 24 to 36 months of fill up. Again, some numbers. At the point of stable occupancy, we're projecting $6.2 million in terms of annual payroll. That does not include the value of benefits. That's just salary and wages for the employees within that are working within the lodge at Magnolia Manor. And bottom line is we will have 302 lives that will be amazingly impacted by the culture and by the environment that we're creating on this retirement community. So we entertain any questions that you may have regarding this project.
Okay, we have Counselor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions, if you could help me walk through this. I'm very impressed with the presentation and glad you're moving to this area. It happens to fall in the northwest corner of my council district, so I had a couple of questions I hope you can help me with. One was the buffer. From the pictures you've shown, it looks like it's going to be a quite extensive buffer on all sides except the north. The minimum, I guess, what they're asking for in the plan is for you to pick one of three. The number 3 is the one I would prefer that you consider. And tonight we can amend the ordinance as part of the rezoning process to limit it to that. The number 3 is a minimum 30-foot natural undisturbed buffer. And I think you can certainly meet that from the diagram you have here. What do you envision on the north side? I see parking. Do you see, is there enough room there to put some type of buffer so that those traveling and the homes that may be built or live across the street would not be impacted by the parking or the nighttime traffic?
In addition to the 30-foot required buffer?
No, I'm not sure what distance it is on the north side. I'm seeing some shrubbery there or some.
It's probably, I mean, it's way over 30 feet. The only thing that we may have to try and help out or try and minimize is tied into the utilities. So when we try and cut a line in there, that would be it. But the 30-foot, I mean, I hate to say a number, but I know we're way over 30 feet off of buffer there, off of the right of way.
If you look at the parking, on the north side, if you look at the parking width, that's about 60 to 62 feet when you have one aisle and 2 parking stalls. So that's easily another 60 feet from the north edge of the parking lot or that parking to the property line, and then the right-of-way setback on top of that. So we probably have 80 feet of area that we will minimize what we can in terms of disturbing any of the natural vegetation. Plus, we think it's important to make sure that we replace in many of those areas vegetation that would be disturbed because of natural grading that would be occurring on the site.
Okay, well, would you be in agreement if I offered an amendment to the ordinance that a minimum 30-foot undisturbed natural buffer would be required on the site?
And we are referring to the Veterans Parkway, right? That property line on Veterans?
It would be all the way around.
Pierce Chapel.
Pierce Chapel too.
Yeah. That's what I was asking about, was the Pierce Chapel.
Pierce Chapel side of it.
Side, yeah.
We'd have to, I mean, I think it's there. I mean, like I said, each one of those parking stalls is 20 foot long. So, I mean, we're not getting into it, and we have a little nature path in there, but, looking at the terrain, because, I mean, we have it surveyed now. So we haven't started putting pen to paper, hard grading everything, so it's hard to say I'm not going to touch it until I know exactly where I've graded into it, to make sure I could catch up grade. So the 30 foot, I'd hate to put it in there now and then come back and say, well, I need to get into it 5 feet, or I need to get into it 2 feet to be able to catch up grades.
Okay, well, what if we do this? On the east, south, and west sides, it would be 30-foot undisturbed. And then on the north side, we could look at the number 1 category, which is a 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees and shrubs, ornamental grasses. Would that be acceptable?
Yes, sir.
Mr. City Attorney, did you get that?
I did.
Mayor, I would like to make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, that's a motion and second related to buffer size and placement. Is there anyone I know we had counselors in line. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to that motion? Okay, let's get, Counselor Walker Garrett would like to abstain from the vote, so what we'll need to do is, if you would, sir, just state your grounds, and then we'll take a vote on that.
My wife's the administrator of the assisted living facility.
Okay, that'd do it. And so there's a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in the approval of the abstention of Counselor Walker Garrett, please state aye.
Aye.
Okay, he is so abstained. And now, is there anyone who would like to speak to the motion proposed by Counselor Allen? Counselor Baker.
Councilor Adams, are they going to be able to meet that where you've got the fence and gravel lot? It looks narrow on that side.
We could definitely adjust that. I mean, that's just,
That's
that's
just
trying
a
to get
sketch.
this little park back there, and another extra parking for, I'm assuming, visitors or things that come along for the cottages on the backside back here.
On the very far back.
Yeah, the RV park.
The far left side.
I mean, that's just.
Right above the pond. Are you gonna have enough room there for what you want?
Yeah, the reality is we will go through the whole permitting process, and we'll need to follow the setback requirements.
Okay.
And the buffer yard requirements within your zoning regulations. This is diagrammatic in nature. One thing that we wanted to acknowledge is in our experience with a number of these retirement communities, folks may have RVs as they travel around the country, and the last thing that anybody wants is for them sitting in their front yards, especially your neighbor's front yard. And so we wanted to be able to isolate a certain area for a time period that those would be parked. There will not be hookups, and there would not, so that's not an RV park, so to speak.
So you could relocate that to one of the more areas so that it doesn't interfere with the buffer? Okay.
Well, and we're walking through all the engineering that's required for the stormwater detention area, which is the blue area shown on the south portion of the property. Joel is working through all the impervious coverage calculations to really define what's the depth and the breadth of that stormwater detention. So as we can maneuver that and create a more beneficial location for both stormwater maintenance, as well as locations such as some of those parking areas or the garden areas, we will do that, absolutely.
Okay. Mayor, I'm ready to vote on that.
Okay, we're going to call the vote then?
I do have two more points, though, once we get through the vote.
Okay, all right, we're calling the vote then on this buffer amendment. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, and then yes, sir, with additional
Thank you.
motions.
Very quickly, the qualification or the range of, for residents to become a resident of your facility in the future, can you kind of walk through some of the parameters of what the qualifications would be if someone wanted to move in?
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. So on the skilled nursing side, that's all healthcare related. More than likely, since we own property now, we're not taking any of our residents, we're not proposed to take any of our residents from our current property to this property. We're going to refurbish the property we're on Warm Springs Road eventually. What will more than likely happen is the skilled nursing piece of it, we'll open it up as a short-term rehab, and then we'll take patients as a case need basis. The other pieces of it are independent living or assisted living. Those will be sold through a sales process. There'll be a ramp-up time for that. Those are all market rate, private pay driven, not Medicaid and Medicare. Only the skilled nursing are Medicaid and Medicare. So it's all that piece of it, which is the majority of it, is going to be market rate driven based on sales. And rental, yeah.
So there's a hospice
There
piece
is
to
not a
it?
hospice, and I've heard what he said, but we do not have a hospice as part of this.
Okay. Is there an Alzheimer
Yes.
assistance?
So on the three-stack assisted living, the bottom floor is a memory care unit,
Okay.
specific for dementia and Alzheimer's care.
Very good. Very
And I
good.
think it's 30 residents.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Did we have any, Counselor? Okay, we're good. All right, I think we're good. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Let's see, Mayor, if there's anybody in the audience that wanted to be heard on this. All right, don't see any hands. We will vote on this in 2 weeks at 9 a.m. Thank you for being here. Next item, Mayor, is the resolution that would modify part of Resolution 21195 relating to take-home cars. I believe Councilor House wants to make a
Sure.
request on this.
Okay, Counselor House.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend that we delay vote on this resolution due to some additional information that's come to light that we need to consider.
Okay, great, thank
Thank
you. Well, we'll postpone that, and then I'm sure council will be giving feedback, and thank you. And maybe
All
we
right.
can do it at a work session or some other presentation or in a meeting coming up.
Okay, Mayor, we have one more add-on resolution that's gone around the table. Been previously discussed in executive session, settlement of the Palmer v. Dar et al. Matter for $35,000.
Got a motion and second for approval. Any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please state aye. Are there any opposed? All right, it carries.
Okay, and that's all we had listed, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to our public agenda. And let me just pull that up real quick here. First, we have Ms. Susan Gallagher, who's representing New Horizons Behavioral Health, and she'd like to speak to us about National Recovery Month.
Good evening, Mayor Tomlinson, Mayor-elect, City Council. Thank you again for this opportunity to talk to you about something I feel passionate about.
Susan, I hate to interrupt you. I'm not going to start your time yet.
Oh, I'm
Do
sorry.
state your name and,
Okay,
and your
that's
business
right, I'm
address. Sorry.
Susan Gallagher, 2100 Comer Avenue, Columbus, Georgia, 31904. New Horizons Behavioral Health. And again, thank you. Has my time started? Okay, great. Oh, great. I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Seth Brown said about prevention, because that's one of the messages I want to get to you this evening is prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. And you can see that prevention works across the board. When you're talking about crime prevention, mental health, addiction, prevention works, treatment is effective, and people get better. So did you know that suicide is the second leading cause of death for children ages 9 through 17 in the state of Georgia? Did you know that 44% of children with mental health problems drop out of high school? Many children with mental health problems miss as many as 18 to 22 days of school just due to their mental health problems. And did you know that 1 in 5 adults experience a mental illness each year? That's 20% of adults experience a mental illness during a year. And 1 in 25 adults lives with a serious chronic mental illness. Nearly 50% of all chronic mental illness begins by the age of 14. And did you know that over 40% of homeless adults live with serious mental illness and or addiction? And 20.6 million Americans over the age of 12 have an addiction to drugs and or alcohol. And over 20% of state and local jail populations have a recent history of mental illness. Prevention works, treatment is effective, people recover. We need to get mental health treatment out there, prevention services out there. New Horizons Behavioral Health is the area leader in behavioral health care, and I'm here to talk about mental illness, addiction, and recovery. I'm going to say it again. Prevention works, treatment is effective, people recover. September is National Recovery Month, and New Horizons Behavioral Health is holding a community-wide celebration of recovery in all its forms, because there are many paths to recovery. There's no one way for people to recover. It's very individualized. We're having this event on Saturday, September 8th, on the Columbus River Walk. It's our 3rd annual Run for Recovery and Uptown Promenade, and the walk starts at 9 a.m. at 1100 Bay Avenue. There's a lot of things going on at the Columbus River Walk that weekend. I think Bikes on Broadway is going on. On Friday night, there's a music session. The Uptown Market is going on. So if you're downtown for any of these events, please come by our recovery event on 1100 Bay Avenue. Last year, New Horizons served 6,921 people in Muskogee County. 6,921 people in Muskogee County. We served over 7,000 people in our whole service area, almost 8,000 people. Last year, we served 6,921 people in Muskogee County with programs such as our PATH Homeless Outreach, Medicaid-assisted opioid treatment, and Generation Next Young Adult Mental Health Services. Individuals in our services are your friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers, and in your case, your constituents. I ask you to join your voice in celebrating their journey to recovery. Recovery Month is a national observance held in September to educate us that treatment can help those with mental health and or substance use disorder to live a healthy and rewarding life. The 2018 Recovery Month theme is Join the Voices for Recovery, Invest in Health, Home, Purpose, and Community. Explores how integrated care, a strong community, sense of purpose, and leadership contributes to effective treatments that sustain the recovery of persons with mental health and substance use disorder. The 2018 observance aims to increase awareness and encourage increased dialogue around behavioral health needs and increased emphasis on tackling the opioid crisis in our community. I want to thank the Columbus Consolidated Government and the Muskogee County Adult Drug Court for bringing medicated-assisted opioid treatment here to Columbus. We've been doing a program for about 2 years now with an injectable, a monthly injectable, I believe it's called venlafaxine, for individuals where it doesn't give them a high. What happens is the individuals have already gone through withdrawal. The injection keeps them from having the uptake of the pleasure of the high and helps them to maintain their recovery. And thank you for supporting that program through the Adult Mental Health Drug Court. Here in Muskogee County, we are fortunate to have a strong community and strong leadership that supports the recovery community. So I want to say thank you. Keep going with the Adult Mental Health Court, the Adult Drug Court, the Juvenile Drug Court, and reaching out to New Horizons when there's incidences of homeless individuals and you need help with them. New Horizons PATH program is there. We're here to help. Remember, again, my message is prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. So think of us during September. It's National Recovery Month, and think of those 1 in 5 adults that are going to be experiencing a mental illness during any given year. 20% of people, 20% of your constituents. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you again for your time. Yes, sir.
Susan, you know I'm very much aware of what New Horizons
Yes,
does,
sir.
and I really appreciate you and Andrea Winston, the CEO.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about, repeat again, the number of individuals who helped in Muskogee. And then I want you to take a little bit of time to talk about what you do in the counties.
Well, okay. I'll be glad to. 6,921 people in Muskogee County. I believe the number that we served throughout our 8-county area was closer to 7,800 people. In our outlying counties, Harris County, Quitman, Stewart, Randolph, Clay, Chattahoochee, we provide some very innovative services. Through the Department of Community Affairs, through their housing funding, we're able to provide a rural rapid rehousing program, which we take individuals that are at risk or in the state of homelessness and able to rapidly rehouse them and support them for up to 6 months in their housing. We just received a few awards from DCA for the work we've done with that program. Now, that program is for individuals with a disability, but it doesn't have to be a mental health or an addictive disability. We can take somebody with maybe chronic diabetes or a heart condition and help them out. And we've helped over 22 families in our rural rapid rehousing program over the life of the program, which so far we're starting year 3 in the program, so we're pretty happy with that. In Chattahoochee County, we have the Georgia Apex Project, which is a project where we embed a mental health counselor in the school system. So there's a mental health professional there to help children in the schools. We are also doing that down in Randolph and Stewart County. The individual is not embedded in the schools because they have so many schools, but they kind of rotate among the schools and help out in that. Because with our children, if we get the help to them as soon as possible, a lot of children, 14 years old is the onset of chronic mental illness in many ages. So if we can get those children the services they need, get their families the supports they need, that works and makes their life easier to live with a chronic mental illness. Here in Muskogee County, we offer quite a few innovative programs. We have the SKY Clubhouse. SKY stands for Saving Our Kids and Youth, and it's an after-school program for children with behavioral health needs. No cost to the parents. The kids can come to the program. We pick them up at the school, bring them to the program. They have group sessions, individual sessions. We have family training, and then we bring the children home in the evenings. We have Generation Next, which is a program for young adults age 16 to 36 who have a chronic mental illness, and we teach them how to live with their mental illness. You know, a lot of parents, they work with teaching their kids how to do laundry, make their bed, balance a checkbook, but what do you do when you have a child that has a chronic mental illness, and they might need how to learn how to take their medication, how to know when signs of their illness are beginning to progress, and they may need additional help. So that's our emerging adult program. We recently received a contract with DBHDD, Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, to bring a program called LIGHT ETP to Muskogee County. And it's first episode psychosis targeting individuals aged 16 to 30 that maybe have their first break, their first psychotic break, and get them quickly into services and wrap
That's
around.
awesome.
Yeah, it's we're one of 5 CSBs in the state that are that have that contract with DBHDD. So we're real excited about that program, and we'll be bringing a recovery community organization to Muskogee County in October, which is going to be a peer-led program for people in recovery for addiction. No treatment will go on. It's more of like a safe place for people to go. You know, coffee, movies, play cards, have a cookout, but you'll be surrounded by people that are positive in their path to recovery. So kind of that surrounding yourself with positive peers as you work on your journey to recovery. And then we have case management services, intensive case management, clinical services. We have the psychiatrists on board, but those are some of our more innovative programs. We do the PATH homeless outreach. We have Shelter Plus Care. We have Shelter Plus Care here in Muskogee County, where we house over I want to say over 80 individuals in their own apartments. We help them with their rent, but we also make sure that they get to the treatment services they need. And then we have a Shelter Plus Care program in Harris County for families, and a harm reduction Shelter Plus Care program in Harris County for individuals. So the housing supports individuals experiencing homelessness. 40% of them have a chronic mental illness. They need help with their housing supports, and we're here to help them do that. So,
I just wanted you to know, it's fortunately, nationwide, we were getting to realize the importance of first of all, recognition and then treatment. Because, mental health has always been on the back burner,
yes.
Susan, for years. And I just want to applaud New Horizons. And then you also mentioned the courts, Dana Solomon, Dr.
Yes.
Cox, the judges, all need to be applauded for easing for a lot of individuals and making a way for them to have access to care.
Right.
And so I just wanted the community to know that you're not only here in Muskogee County, but
Yes,
throughout the other counties as well.
Right, throughout.
And so I really appreciate all that you and Andrea Winston and everyone who's involved in the issue of mental illness.
Thank you for your kind words, sir. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Remember, September is National Recovery Month. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Susan.
No more questions. Our next.
You got it?
Our next speaker is Ms. Elika Ortega with Tri-City Latino Festival. Good evening. And if you will, state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Elika Ortega, and I'm with the Tri-City Latino Association.
My name is Elika Ojeda, and I'm a board member of the Tri-City Latino Association.
We're just here to invite council, the mayor, the city manager, and the whole Tri-City Latino community to the Tri-City Latino Festival that's happening Saturday, September 15th. This is basically to start off the Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. We're going to have music, food, just a lot of culture experiences that you guys can come and experience.
We will be having, as always, a kids zone area because this is a family-oriented event, so we would like everyone to have fun, including the children. And we have a small video that we are providing, so we can take a look at it. And and see and enjoy it.
It's that time of year again. Get ready for the Tri-City Latino Festival. This will be the festival's 6th year, and it's going to be even bigger and better than ever. Saturday, September 15th at the Civic Center, starting at noon. There will be an international variety of culture, exhibits, food, music. This will be, as always, a family-friendly fellowshipping opportunity for the entire community. Bring a lawn chair, let the kids play in the kids zone, and plan to stay and enjoy. The Tri-City Latino Festival, September 15th at Civic Center.
Thank you. We hope everyone will go and spend some time with us. And this year, the festival will be dedicated to the mayor. She's been with us since day number 1, and since 2013, she's been supporting us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. That is so kind, and it is a tremendous event. I know Councilor Woodson, you all, Lefty, who was there in the beginning, Tito, and so many others, started this years ago, and it is amazing to see how it has grown. I hope you all are very, very proud of what you've done. Councilor Woodson?
Mayor, I just want to say to the community and to the Tri-City Latino Familia, they work very hard. None of them get paid. None of them are professional in organizing events. And they dedicate it because they believe in the mission and the vision and the objective of the program. It is to educate our community, our tri-community, on the different cultures within the Latin community. Lots of times, a lot of individuals think that the Latin community, it's Mexican, Cuban, and Puerto Rican. And there's actually 21 other cultures that has the basic mother language of Spain, but it's very different. Our foods are very different. Some of our tradition, even in our family values, are a little bit different. So what makes Columbus unique and everyone talking about Columbus is because it's not just a Latin festival, it's an international festival. The only reason it's called the Latin Festival is to acknowledge the Latinos in the month of heritage of Hispanics. If you take a look compared to other cities, our Hispanic group is not in one location, it's throughout the city. And it's been done purposely through the fathers and mothers before us, because they all wanted to feel inclusive and about the community, not to be picked or stereotyped where to go. So it has a lot of pride that it wants to share on this one day with the community. It has an educational portion where you could see the different countries that are visiting our community, their dancing, their music, their culture. It's a very enlightening educational portion. Between 1 and 5 o'clock, the music is English and Spanish of local artists and other artists that come from New York, Virginia, I think we've had one from LA, who's not charged us. They just wanted to come and show, and the courtesy of the board will pay their gas and their hotel for them because they're not charging us. They just want to share in Columbus, Georgia, their culture, their music. And it's not only Spanish music, it's gospel music, it's rock, it's jazz, it's a variety. But then after 5 o'clock, that's when it turns that international flavor. Most of the artists are coming, they're Grammy winners in the Latin culture in that format. We've had sponsors with us as AFLAG, TSIS, W.C. Bradley, Judy Thomas, people that have been with us right from the beginning, from day one, that understand that the whole mission is to educate people, bring people together, let businesses know to their patrons that they appreciate them, and for new people to know them.
Yeah.
So we welcome everyone. We don't want everybody to think it's just Latinos. No, it's for everyone. It's for the children, everyone. We don't charge because we know the stress of life. We need some fun that doesn't cost us something. Of course, the food does because of the vendors. They got to make their money. They won't come. But the food is all the way from hamburgers and hot dogs all the way into empanadas and some new food I never even had from Peru. So just want to touch that please come and celebrate with us our diversity, our differences. Please let the Latin community feel that love and welcome that Columbus, Georgia has.
It's
And
a
I
great
thank you.
family event, and a lot of military families
Yes.
come, and it's just, if you haven't been, you've missed it. So it just really, really is. Let's see, we have council, and the food is great. Counselor Barnes.
I just want to know, you're going to have mofongo there?
Oh, yeah, we can't be
There you go.
without the mofongo.
There you go. You're going to have mofongo?
And
Especially tomorrow at the
Oh,
press
oh.
conference.
Yeah,
You're
the press
invited.
conference, we have mofongo. And this is funny, mofongo is made out of plantains and green bananas and a special root. And it's smashed and made into a ball with garlic and serrano and all kinds of different spices. And then it has meat in it. And it is the best you can ever eat. So,
Yum. All right, we have Counselor Huff.
Thank you, Elica, for being here. I'm always marveling at the fact of you and Mimi and Lefty did the same thing. There's always a young one around that you all are bringing up and teaching the ropes to. So you did a great job. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah, but I will be there, and I'll be a part of what you're doing this year. So I appreciate you, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for your support.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you all, and we will see you.
Thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.
All right. All right, next, we have on our list, yes, okay, yes, Counselor Woodson.
oh my God, I forgot some people that are the most important people to the whole festival. And that's our staff and our city manager and our deputy city manager, especially Lisa. We drive her crazy and insane sometimes. We want to say to all of you, and Wayne, who's out there from the Courier, who really supports us, we just want to say from the bottom of our hearts. And I know that Lefty is listening and watching, because I think he really haunts me every year about this time. We appreciate, all the support, and that you see and understand the value and the mission and the objective behind this festival. And in behalf of all the Latino families in Columbus and our family, the board, we truly want to say thank you, and God bless each and every one of you who believe in us.
Great. Thank you.
Now I'm done.
Counselor Woodson, and thank you for all your hard work on it. Next, we have Mr. Zachary Salas, who would like to come and speak to us about Hawaiian preservation goals. Yes, sir. Good evening. Well, and if you would just state your name and address, please.
Hello, council members. My name is Zachary Salas. Just got this card in the mail. What it is, it's called a Hawaiian registry card. And kind of excited about it because, my parents has always raised me, to be proud of my culture and everything, Hawaiian culture. And, so it kind of like verifies who I am as far as the indigenous people. On the back of it, it says, original indigenous people of America. So basically, I just wanted to, on behalf of my aunt, she passed down here in Columbus, Georgia in 2007. And basically what I wanted to be able to do is open up a museum for her. I think that she was the first Hawaiian woman who did the luau down here. I think that she founded it down here, her and my grandma. So in honor of them, I would like to be able to open up a museum called a Cultural Arts Museum. And I think that the United States Code would actually support that, those type of measures, because from my understanding, Congress came out with an act. It was called the Resolution Act. And what it was supposed to do, it was supposed to preserve the Hawaiian culture. And I think it was supposed to start from a period of, from 1905, and it was supposed to go for 100 years. So I think that, I think it was 1920 to be exact. So I think that we're kind of like nearing the 100-year mark as far as, the Hawaiian Preservation Act. I think it's about to be over with. So what I would like to do is just kind of like try to take advantage of some of the last of, what's available as far as the Preservation Act, because there was a Pacific Act that they came out with, and that was, the whole purpose of it was to preserve the Hawaiian people, not just because of our race, but because we was supposed to be a nation that never relinquished our sovereignty. So basically, like I said, I just wanted to be able to submit a request to City Council. And I think that I could probably just maybe pass around this policy as far as what the government policy has already stated, that they recognize, you know, the need to preserve the Hawaiian culture. And now, just to kind of like let you know in advance of, I know this doesn't have a issue with the, you know, the Columbus Council, but I think the way I'm looking at it is like, most of the grants, though, that I'm looking at and reading about, you know, that's available through this program is mostly in Hawaii. You know, you got to be a resident of Hawaii. Now, in theory, I mean, to me, in order for, you know, for this act to be able to preserve Hawaiian people, I don't think that it's practical, you know, for you to, for the qualifications to require that you stay in Hawaii. You know, you got all these different people that's moved out of, you know, the city of, state of Hawaii, and they live all around the country. So how do you preserve these other people? So is that saying that all the people that's in the states are excluded from being preserved? You know, and only the people just on the island? I mean, how can that achieve its result? You know, if it's kind of like the Animal Endangered Species Act. You know, it's not just covering just one specific area. I mean, you know, from my understanding anyway. But it would be the whole principle. You know, not, and so to me, it wouldn't just apply just in, or it shouldn't just apply just to residents of Hawaii, but it should extend to all the rest of the Hawaii. It has expanded throughout the United States. But from my understanding, our population of people that's actually native Hawaiian is probably less than 1 million people throughout the whole continent. So I think it's something to be alarmed about. I think that, I mean, I'm the only person, I mean, I'm a small minority, so I'm screaming out, hey, you know, we need help. I've been through many of, you know, tragedies throughout my life and had to, you know, struggle for most of my life, just trying to have the basic necessities there. So I can understand, you know, that, and I don't really get a whole lot of support because it's like, you know, people look at my race and, you know, I'm always being called a Mexican or something else. I'm always called something outside of my race, you know, so I'm kind of like a true minority, what I consider a true minority, because, you know, I don't get a solid support from any group of people. I mean, people like me, you know, I got friends and stuff. I got black friends, white friends, but I don't have anybody to support my family or my people that I can unite with, not even now. You know, I got the people as far as that I'm an artist, you know, and I love my grandma and my auntie, so naturally I want to carry out their traditions. But I just don't have a whole lot of support, you know, as far as people to go to and, you know, rally with it, even to come up here and petition the city council, you know, for grants and funds. And like I said, I think that's one of the things that the United States government, they have already recognized as far as that we are lacking in education. We're underrepresented. We don't have a whole lot of funds to go around, you know, so it's kind of like we're a real underdog here in America. So basically, like I said, I just wanted to be able to request the city council's assistance in these matters. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, sir, thank you so much, first of all, for bringing this to our attention. I know you said you had some documents, and one thing you can do is provide it to the clerk here, and then they can make sure that we get, that all of the council gets your information. If you don't have it with you tonight or you want to submit it later, you certainly can. I can have Carly come out and chat with you.
This is a picture of my aunt, and
Okay.
kind of like this explains that she was, you know, the founder of the Luau Hearing. Matter
Right.
of fact, I think that she was a part of your committee of, it says here, I didn't never really know it though.
Yeah.
It says she was a part of the International Network.
Oh, probably Circle or something,
And
yeah.
so work closely with the Mayor's Commission on Diversity?
Yes, uh-huh.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, great, if you'll provide that to our clerk, and then also I can get Carly to come out and get your contact information, and you can send us if you have any other information, we can get that from you as well, and maybe get you to the right person, whether it's our Commission on Unity, Diversity, Prosperity, or our Circle Commission, to work with you to kind of vet out a little bit more what you'd like to see and how the city might be able to help, if
Yes,
that's possible. Okay? All right. Carly, can you get this gentleman's information? Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right. Let's see, our next, Mr. Robert Hutchinson has actually had to cancel. His wife is ill, so he's going to be back with us next time we gather together. And so the next individual on our public agenda is Mr. Wayne Hales, who would like to speak to us about Black History Museum property lease request. Good evening. You just state your name and address for the record.
Wayne Hales, 1300 Winton Road, Suite 104. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Columbus Black History Museum and Archives. I think you have a packet there from me. And for the past year, the museum has been in search of an adequate facility, and we were finally approached by Maurice Edwards, the son of Dr. M. Delmar Edwards, who offered the building that housed not only his father's practice, but the first location of Dr. Bob Wright's optometrist practice. And that facility is located at 804 Veterans Parkway. The goal for the museum is to expand on the rear of the property, and upon doing some researching the deed, we found that the Edwards estate owns all but a small lot, which is located at 810 Veterans Parkway and is currently owned by the city. The dimension of the property is 26 by 150, or approximately 3,900 square feet, and has been appraised at $23,400 by Norris Appraisal Group, LLC. And what I'm here tonight for is to asking that the city allow us to enter into an agreement where we could lease the property for $1 per year for 99 years.
Okay.
Or you can give it to us outright. We appreciate it.
All right. All right, we've got Counselor Huff.
Mr. Hales, thank you for being here. This is the property directly behind the building?
Correct. But the only piece is like a little sliver right in front of the Greyhound bus station.
Okay, okay.
So the rest of it is owned by the Edwards estate.
Okay, okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
And that piece that we're looking at would be used for parking. Oh, yeah. That 810 is the property, and that 818 is the Greyhound bus station or area.
And the property is the yellow that you're looking
Yes, the property is the yellow.
All right, we have the Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. In a second. Counselor Woodson, did you want to speak to the motion?
What's the motion?
That's
To rent it for $1, is that right? You want to state your motion? Is it to,
the motion to rent it for $1 for 99 years.
what, for 99 years?
Yeah. I was
We
gonna.
can't do 99 years, city attorney, I know, that's a long time, yeah. Let's hear from the city,
Yeah,
the
that's
city
what I was
manager
gonna
and then
ask.
the city attorney. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, if the council is interested in allowing for this lease for the Black History Museum, I would actually bring it back on the second Tuesday agenda, and we would consult with the city attorney to look at some of the other lease agreements that we have, similar lease agreements, and I can tell you we do have similar lease agreements for $1 a year, and actually had staff to give me a list of them. We've got a $1 a year lease with Columbus Botanical Garden, Columbus Lions, Columbus Sports Council, for Kids of Columbus, Georgia, Friends of Historic Claflin. You know, we just went through what we're doing with Friends of Historic Claflin, Girl Scout, Homeless Resource Network, Neighbor Reserve Center, Omega Financial, Safe House Ministries, Timothy Group, Veterans Welcome Center. And so we do have $1 a year lease agreements, and this is as he's shared with you, and you can see on the screen, a 26 by 150 piece of property that he's indicating would be used for parking. We don't have a particular use for it at this time, but we would structure a lease agreement if you're interested in a way that's acceptable to what we do in terms of lease. And then, of course, they could be continued, let's say it's a 5-year or a 10-year, and it's a recur, and so we could certainly bring back a lease structured in that manner for $1 a year.
We had the Mayor Pro Tem has withdrawn her motion.
Sure.
She wanted me to say, and in light of your information to bring, or your statement that you bring more information forward. And Mr. City Attorney, did you have?
Well, our city manager covered most of it. I think that most of the nonprofit leases with the city go for a year-to-year, 1-year term, or a 5-year term with a possible renewal. It would be very unusual to go long-term unless you've got bonds being issued by a public entity,
So, but there again, we would consult with the city attorney, and it would be done in a similar way that we've done others.
Okay. All right. We've got the Mayor Pro Tem.
Can you also consult the city attorney on the possibility, could we donate that land to, or sell that land since we have no use for it?
Certainly, I mean, if that's...
Sure, I mean...
Well, let me just first, I'd have to look at how we purchased.
You have to take bids if you're
land.
going to sell it. I mean, you'd have to take sealed bids.
If you're going to sell it. But we can, I'd have to look at how the property was purchased to actually respond to that. If it's CDBG property, we could not give it away, for example, so I don't know.
I know sometimes we have an alley, and you got 2 houses, and we sell it to both persons, we offer it to both of the individuals. So what would be the difference?
Well, let me just look at it, Mayor Pro Tem, and then I'll let you guys know.
All right. We've got Councilor Thomas.
Mr. Hales, is timing a factor at all for you? I mean, are you I know you're in a hurry to get it done,
Right.
but is there a...
We can wait 2 weeks. we can wait a couple of weeks, that's good. We don't need to start tomorrow, but we can wait.
Well, what I would like to request of the city manager is, I think you get the feeling of most of the councilors that have said anything, and so I'd like to ask you to bring back to us an advantageous proposal, not only for the city, but for the Black History Museum, whether it's giving it to them, selling it to them, leasing it to them. If we leased, for example, to the Welcome Center, we did more than a 1-year lease. I'm almost sure on that, and so just bring back to us
Sure.
whatever makes most sense and is helpful to the museum.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. All right, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. All right, and next we have Pastor Juan Carlos Diaz, who's representing the biannual health fair. Oh, okay, Councilor Barnes wanted to, hold on a second here. I'm stuck. It's stuck. Can you turn on, okay, there we go.
Pastor Juan Carlos had an emergency situation, so he asked me to speak. I'm going to attempt this here. Pastor Juan Carlos is the pastor of Iglesia de Dios Nuevo Pacto. Please excuse my Spanish. And I have been with them for, goodness, a number of years, and this is such a dynamic church, and they do a biennial health and community outreach. And each time they have over 21 social service organizations that help people to navigate through the maze of the social service system. And so they're going to have, in addition to the 21 social service organizations, they're going to have blood pressure screening, blood sugar, stroke prevention, which is very, very, very important, because a lot of times that's overlooked. Pulse oximetry, HIV screening with immediate results. At the same time, what they do, besides the 21 social service organizations, is they give away clothing and shoes. So that is going to be on the 8th of September from 10 until 2 at the Frank Chester Center. Yeah, did I say food? I didn't say food. And they have food. So they have groceries, and they have food on site. They give away clothing, shoes. And, by the way, they're going to also have something that is very, very difficult to get, is they're going to have a lawyer references. So if there are any legal problems, they will explain to you how to go about it. A lot of times they bring the preliminary paperwork that you would need to fill out. And so this dynamic church has been doing this, goodness, for, I think, at least 15 years, twice a year. So they do a lot in the community. So,
Wonderful.
and
Thank you,
that's
Pops.
September the 8th from 10 until 2
Okay,
at the Frank Chester Center.
sounds great. Well, thank you for bringing us that information. And I'm sorry that Pastor Diaz cannot be with us, but at least we did get the information out about that important event. So our final participant in the public agenda tonight is Mr. Herman Lewis Jr., who's representing the alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. Hello, and he'd like to speak to us about the 57th Annual Southeastern Province Roger Wilson Leadership Conference. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Columbus, Georgia alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi and the Eta Theta chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi at Columbus State University. My name is Herman Lewis Jr., as Mayor indicated. I am the Polemark or president for the Columbus, Georgia alumni chapter. We are here to bring you awareness of an event that will be coming to Columbus on next month, which is the 57th Annual Southeastern Province C. Roger Wilson Leadership Conference that will be held at Columbus State University. During the fall weekend each year, each of the 12 provinces that make up Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity has this annual leadership conference. And we have been afforded the opportunity to host the event here in the great city of Columbus, and we're very excited about it. I do have our chairman for the leadership conference, Jason Patterson, who is also the advisor for the Eta Theta chapter at Columbus State University, that will expound on what we're looking to have and what we will be doing during the course of that weekend.
Good evening, everyone. As Brother Lewis said, my name is Jason Patterson. I am a member of the Columbus Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. I'm also serving as the undergraduate advisor for the Eta Theta Chapter, which is Columbus State University. I joined Kappa Alpha Psi through Columbus State University, and now that I'm working in that capacity as an advisor. As Brother Lewis was saying, this is our 57th rendition, if you will, of the C. Roger Wilson Leadership Conference. It's held every year, and the conference is designed by the word leadership to teach members of the fraternity skills to run their particular office within the fraternity. Now, even with those offices, that correlates to everyday life, such as financing, record keeping, holding meetings, business attire, things of that nature. So it's truly a leadership conference. Although it's specific to the fraternity, those skills can translate into everyday life. Now, also, as Brother Lewis was saying, we have been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to host a conference. And our province is Southeastern Province, which are the alumni and undergraduate chapters primarily in the state of Georgia and South Carolina. So that's a lot of chapters. And in order for us to be given that opportunity, we have to be doing things the right way here in Columbus. So it kind of speaks to what we've been doing as an alumni chapter to give us this opportunity. Now, with it being Georgia and South Carolina, we will have a lot of brothers in town during that weekend, which is September 15th. We're anticipating probably about 250 to 300 members of the fraternity here in town. So with those brothers here, of course, there will be some economic impact to the city. Of course, we're not having 10,000, so it's not going to be a enormous amount of, economic pass-through, but it will be some. And so we just wanted to come to let the city know about what we're doing, let the city be aware of the things that we are doing here as an alumni chapter in Columbus.
Great. Well, thank you. It sounds very exciting, and we appreciate you all bringing all those folks here. That's what our economic tourism is all about, so we appreciate that. Herman, would you like to say anything else? No?
I think he said it all. We're excited about the opportunity, and we look forward to it. We've been planning all summer for this event. Once we got noted that we were going to be the host, so we've been hard at work, and we're just looking forward to having a great showing and presenting Columbus, Georgia in good fashion.
Well, thank you. If there's anything we can do for you, our Columbus Convention and Visitors Bureau works with groups regardless of size. It sounds like you guys are going to have some folks here, so you certainly make the cut to have their full involvement. So you can either contact me through email or them directly, and I'll make sure they get with you, and anything that they can provide in the way of support or coordination, they're happy to do.
And if
make
any
sure it's a
member of
successful
the
event.
council would like to greet the members as they come on Saturday, we're more than happy to have you.
Great. All right. And Mr. City Manager?
No, I just wanted to congratulate and welcome the members of Kappa Alpha Psi and let you know that I might be willing to help you.
You want to chime in, Bruce?
Bruce, that's your cue.
That's right. Let's see. We've got it.
That's cue.
Good.
Gotta make your comment.
As the city manager comes on board with his Omega Psi Phi, A5 will be here to support you in any way that we can.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you all very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right.
See you, Harmon.
Okay, that concludes our public agenda. And so at this time, we're going to move into the city manager's agenda. Mr. Hughley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First on my agenda, I've got the TIA, we know it as T-SPLOST, Spiderweb Network Project, asking for approval to enter into a supplemental agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation to adjust the engineering services and right-of-way budget for the TIA Spiderweb Network Project. So let me say that the total budget on this project, and you are all familiar with it, and that's the project that's going to go over the railroad crossings at Buena Vista Road, there at Morris and Andrews Road, Ilges Road. The total budget for that project is $40 million. When T-SPLOST was passed, we provided a preliminary budget, and that preliminary budget included $2.4 million for engineering and $8.5 million for right-of-way acquisition. This request tonight is a line item adjustment, is what we're actually asking for, reducing the right-of-way acquisition amount of 8.5, reducing it from 8.5 to $6 million. And we want to increase the engineering amount from the $2.4 million that we provided a preliminary budget for engineering. We want to adjust it to $4.4 million. So there's no change in the total budget of $40 million. We can do the right-of-way acquisition with $6 million. Our preliminary estimate at that time was 8.5. The engineering estimate, again, was 2.4.
We've got a motion. Is there a second for approval? Okay, we have Counselor Thomas.
Mr. City Manager, as I read this, I recall that when we first started talking about doing something at the Spiderweb, we had a certain idea in mind as to what we were going to do. We were going to go under.
That's right.
And that turned out not to be feasible.
Exactly.
And so part of this, I am assuming, is because we're having to change the entire project, I guess.
We had to change it a couple of different times. I think the bridge was going to be longer at one time or shorter, and then we had to make it longer. But the first plan was to go underneath, and that did not work out. And so those preliminary estimates of engineering and right-of-way and all were made early on. And so there was no way to really have the real number. And then when we got the final design or plan that we were going to go over and how far the bridge was going to span, of course, right-of-way is less than what we thought, or we projected less than what we thought at 8.5, and engineering is more. It took more engineering than our preliminary estimate. So you're right, you're correct in that it has changed a number of times based on what we thought we would be able to do and what was determined that we could not do and what we could do.
And as I understand what you have said, the total amount has not changed. You're asking us to move money from one line
That is
to
correct.
another.
These are line, absolutely, these are line item adjustments. The total budget is still 40 million, has not and will not change.
Great, thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. There's no further discussion. If you would, record your votes electronically. And it passes.
The next item, Madam Mayor and Council, requesting to allow the Sheriff's Office to enter into an MOU with the U.S. Marshals Service to receive $2,042.17 in funding or is awarded. There's no local match for this $2,000.
We got a motion and second for approval. Is there any further discussion? All right, you may record your votes electronically. It passes.
Madam Mayor, next I've got retiree health insurance plan, asking for authorization to renew with Medicare eligible health care plan, Medicare eligible health care plan benefits.
Okay, we've got a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem and a second from Councilor Allen.
And Madam Mayor.
Yes.
You can go ahead and do that, but I do want to say this for
Yeah, go ahead.
those listening.
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
There is no recommended change in Medicare Advantage plan provider for the retirees for calendar year 2019, and the Retiree Benefits Committee, Shaw Hankins and our benefits consultant, HR, and all agree with what we are presenting to you tonight. But what I wanted those who are listening to hear is that their final bid resulted in a premium reduction or 10.7% and lower out-of-pocket maximum by $500. The retiree's monthly rate will be $130 a month for the city subsidized retiree group that was hired prior to July 1, 2001. So let me say that again. The retirees' monthly rate will be $130 a month for the city-subsidized retiree group hired prior to July 1, 2001, and it's $173.33 for the unsubsidized retiree group hired on or after July 1, 2001. The out-of-pocket maximum of $1,500 annually is reduced to $1,000 annually. It is noted that the Medicare Advantage plan was put out to bid, and Blue Cross Blue Shield submitted a strong proposal. But because of United Healthcare's competitive bid, their excellent customer service and stable consistency, it was determined to remain with United Healthcare. And so I wanted them to hear that, because that's a reduction and not an increase.
Great.
And so we're asking for your approval today.
Well, congratulations on that, Retha, and to Shaw Hankins, of course. And so we have our motion and second. You may go ahead and record your votes electronically. And it passes.
And Madam Mayor, I think the HR Director wants to recognize some of those retirees who are here.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, I wanted to at least recognize two members of the Retiree Benefits Committee, the chairperson of the Retiree Association, Larry Campbell, and Mr. Jack Kinsman. Would you all just come and greet the council?
Thank you all. Retha and her staff and the Shaw Hankins folks have been, as usual, great to work with. We appreciate all their efforts. The city manager already commented on the fact that we're going to save the city and the employee, or retired employee, some money, which is great. It's exciting. And then probably the biggest single thing when you get, besides the reduction in rate, is that $1,000 out-of-pocket down from $1,500. That's real dollars. As you get our age, that gets around pretty quick. So we're excited with the outcome, and we hope that in continued years we'll be equally as successful. I did want to thank Rhonda Davis, who's our advisor from Aflac. She got tied up this evening and the last minute and couldn't be here, but we do appreciate all the efforts that she puts in on behalf of the employees. And Mayor and Councilor Baker, we appreciate the support that all of council and staff have given us, but especially this evening, we'd like to thank you all for your support you've given the retired employees and the employees. This is Jack Kinsman, who's the vice chairman of the, of the Retiree Association, is here, and we'll say hey.
Another thing I'd like to say is thank you for the opportunity to serve on this committee. It's been a real help to the retirees, and I appreciate the organization getting it up. Billy Watson, who really initiated this organization, he would have been here, but due to poor health, he's not able to make it. I would like to just remember him for the opportunity to come here to help the retirees, because that's what our goals are, is to help the retirees.
Well, you guys have done a great, great job. It's made a huge difference. And I know, Retha, you've been working hard, and thank you again, but we have come a long way. Yes, ma'am. And so, so thank you for your ingenuity and your hard work. I think it's been a wonderful thing, too, to have sort of the chair, maybe it's at the chair position, I believe, someone from outside who's bringing that expertise and that other set of eyeballs to our circumstance. It's been very helpful, too. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Congratulations.
With that, Madam Mayor, I'm going to move to purchases, and I'm going to ask the sheriff to come forward, and I know she's got her chief deputy and some other people here as well. Let me just say that this is inmate medical and pharmacy services for the Muskogee County Jail, and then the next item is going to be for the prison, but I want to talk about the jail first, and she's coming forward because the actual bid came in higher than what they've budgeted, what we approved in their current budget. And so she has come prepared to ask for the additional funding above and beyond what was approved in the budget. Since she has been here, I've had our finance director communicating with her in the back room.
Absolutely, yes.
And though it's above and beyond, I believe...
I do. I have something to say. Thank you for having me this evening, and I want to just say a couple of things. First, this was our first major RFP process, and so that was an experience, but a good one. And I have nothing but good words to say for our Assistant City Manager, Pam Hodge, and our Finance Director, Angelica Alexander, who have helped to guide me through this process with this medical contract. You know, I ran on and intend to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. And when this bid came back, they had to help me through some things, and we even had some meetings just a few minutes ago. And good news, even though this is a little bit higher, it is somewhere around $68,000 more a year than what we have currently budgeted. We also have seen significant savings in our pharmacy lines, and if those continue with this new company, because it is a new vendor, but if those pharmacy savings continue with this new contract, we should be able to cover that $68,000. I'm here just to let you know that should that not happen for any reason, we're looking at an additional $68,000. Unlike the retirees, it didn't go down, it did go up a little bit, but nonetheless, it's been a good process, a good learning experience for myself and my staff, and we've had nothing but help, and I'm actually encouraged by that, because I think that we should be able to cover this without having to ask for more money, but if we do, then I'll come back and address this council again.
So she's going to try and make it work, but just putting you on notice that it's $68,000 higher, and if they are not as successful as she anticipates they will be, then at some point after mid-year and as we move towards the close of the fiscal year, she may have to come back for that $68,000.
The question was, right now, we're approving just what's in the budget. I think it's...
You're going to approve what we're bringing before you tonight is what we're asking you to do, but we need you to approve it with the understanding that she is going to try and make the $68,000 above and beyond what's budgeted. She's going to try and find it within her savings and so forth during the course of the budget year. The contract.
When you get to the purchasing agenda
Yeah.
of approving the contract, this was
Well-
just for your information
Well,
that I'm here. Go ahead.
We are at the purchasing
Okay.
agenda. And so because it's an RFP, the cost is not listed here tonight, but we want you to know that what we have budgeted will not, it's $68,000 short of what is needed. And she may have to come back at some point during the course of this fiscal year for that 68, but they believe that because of savings that they're seeing now in pharmacy and other areas, that they will be able to make it work. But to approve the contract tonight, moving forward with the contract, yes.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, Councilor Thomas, did you have additional discussion?
I just want to make sure that I understand what we're doing here, City Manager. We are approving the RFP that is $68,000 more than what is in the budget. However, the sheriff is saying she thinks with the savings that they can do under pharmaceuticals, it will not reach that $68,000, and if it goes over what she is currently budgeted, then she will be coming back to us during this year to get approval for additional funding.
That is correct.
Is that it?
That's it. And she came here tonight to ask you to take it out of reserve, and this is a way to attempt to avoid taking it out of the reserve, but putting you on notice that something could happen, and she has to come back for the $68,000. And personally, I'd rather not take it out of the reserve. I'd rather try and give her an opportunity to make it work.
But we are approving $68,000 more than was in the budget.
Right now, you are approving what's in the budget and this contract to proceed forward. And we're simply putting you on notice right now that if she's not able to find the $68,000, then...
If needed, she may not need the $68,000.
Right,
Exactly.
she may have savings other places.
If she can find the savings, we're not coming back to you for it.
Right.
And that's the goal,
Yes,
to
that's-
find the $68,000 within her budget through their good, hard-working efforts in reducing pharmacy and doing other things. For the inmate medical and pharmacy services for the jail. And we're asking you to approve moving forward with the contract.
Okay. We've got Counselor Huff and then Counselor Woodson,
Okay, so we're approving the contract
right?
Yes, with this,
with the 68 included if needed?
yes.
No,
Well-
you're not approving new money, you're just approving the contract,
That's...
right? And
Yeah.
it is for $68,000 more than it was, but she's going to try to find that within her budget, and she'll have to come back anew if she needs money outside of her budget. So you're not approving an additional $68,000 outside the
Right.
budget. They're just
Not
putting
at
you on
this time,
notice.
you're not.
Not right,
They're
not
just putting you
today.
on notice
Okay,
that this
I'm saying-
contract is $68,000 more than the other.
It could exceed up to 68,000.
It could.
Okay.
And she's
So
putting
she's
you on
going
notice.
forward with the present contract.
With this
And we're
contract.
being put on notice.
Yes.
That if needed, she'll be back. So we will approve the 68 at that time, or we approving it now for her to use if needed?
If she needs the $68,000, she'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, and the option would be, take it out of reserve now and just tell her she can have it, or give her an opportunity to work it, you know.
I would like to say that, one of the things that we did last year was have the current provider buy our pharmaceuticals for us, and it was kind of like the Walmart effect. So we, in effect, did save approximately $200,000 last year by doing that. And if those continued savings carry through this year, that we save $100,000 to $200,000 in medical pharmacy, then we can cover the 68. But I just come to you tonight and let you know, it could happen that we do spend that pharmacy, but we're very hopeful that we'll continue to see those savings.
Okay. We've got Counselor Woodson.
Just a quick question. Angelica, it's for Angelica. Since we've been put on notice, you're put on notice to try to have that money standby, right?
Well, she is,
Keeping an eye?
that's why I sent her back to talk to the sheriff
Okay.
to work all that out before we got to the floor,
Okay.
because I don't want the $68,000 to come out of reserve, and if she had asked for it, you may have approved it. And so I think we've worked out
Yeah.
an agreement that we won't take it out of reserve right now, and
But there's a possibility if it doesn't.
if it gets down to that.
Okay, and I just
We don't
wanted to
want it
make
to
sure
get
we
there,
knew.
though.
No, I don't either, but I just wanted to make sure, since we were placed on notice, wanted to make sure that we had Plan B in case it went, and
Yeah.
the Plan B is we're going into the reserves if we have to.
Well, and I want to commend the sheriff because, we have a policy that if you're going to exceed, you come and ask in advance. And rather than asking for it tonight, she's just putting you on notice.
And I want to also compliment her, because I've noticed through our budget process, and I've noticed everything, and I've been here quite a while, I truly appreciate the relationship that you have built with us.
Yes.
With our staff, our finance, even in council, you let us know ahead of time that we're not caught by surprise by the media or anyone in public. So I personally want to say thank you for that your leadership in ensuring that great relationship is working.
Thank you.
Ditto, thank you. Counselor Baker, did you have something? You-
Just to clarify, I understand what she's doing. She's operating within the approved budget that we set. That's not changing. The fact that one little bid came in higher or lower doesn't change the overall budget. We're going to sort of expect that she can handle that one particular overage within the confines of her budget. And then at that point, if she can't, then she comes back
Exactly.
and she'll ask for
That's
additional
exactly
funding.
It took a
So-
CPA to really clear that up.
I don't know about that, but I think that's where she's operating within the approved budget for the time being.
For now,
The
yes,
fact that one little piece of all her puzzle pieces was a little higher or lower is just the way it is. But we hope for the best on that.
Okay,
As do I.
all right.
Yes, ma'am. And thank
So-
you, Sheriff, for the
thank you.
job you're doing, by the way.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I do.
Okay, so we have a motion and second, and you all may, do we have a motion and second, Lindsay? Yes, okay, I was going to say, I thought we did. And so you may record your votes electronically. And I think we're missing, no, that's everybody. We got it. Thank you. And it
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Sheriff and Chief and Cap Major. Next, item B, we've got inmate medical and pharmacy services for the prison, and there is no budget issue with this, and we ask for your approval.
We've got a motion and second for approval. Seeing no discussion, you all may record your votes electronically. And it passes.
We've got alcohol management services for the Columbus Civic Center, asking to execute a contract with Ovations Food Services, doing business as Spectra Food Services and Hospitality.
We've got a motion and second for approval. Seeing that there's no discussion, you may record your votes electronically. And it passes.
We've got
D through I. Okay, and there's a second. That's the agricultural chemicals annual contract, tasers and related accessories for the marshal's office, the Georgia Subsequent Injury Trust Fund annual assessment, the upgrade of the business licensing, occupation tax system, and permit management system, and the heavy-duty chairs for the E911 Center. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, we included D. No, we're including
No.
D in this.
We are including D. I'm sorry that you said E. So that would include D, which would be the plotter, printer, and scanner services annual contract. So items D through I. There was a motion and a second. There appears to be no discussion to any of the items, and so you may record your votes electronically. And it passes.
Okay, Madam Mayor, with that, I've got, just to bring your attention to an emergency purchase, which was just for moving service for the judges as a result of the government center flooding. You know, they moved to the other building at Carmike, so that was an emergency purchase. Just want to bring to your attention. I've got a few more updates. I've got one on the government center maintenance. Public Works Director Pat Bigler is going to do that, and this is on maintenance only. And then she's going to be followed by Inspections and Codes Director John Hutchison and Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge on government center repairs, construction, and insurance. So Pat Bigler is going to talk about maintenance. They are going to talk about repairs, construction, and insurance following Pat Bigler. So with that, our Director of Public Works, Pat Bigler.
Why don't you go on? I think we're about, you go on out, thank you.
Good evening. How are you all this evening?
Hello.
Before I start my presentation, I have a small announcement to make. This week, Public Works was notified that we are officially the 146th city in all of North America to achieve accreditation through the American Public Works Association.
Fantastic.
We went through our inspection about 2 weeks ago. There are literally 29,000 cities that qualify, and in over 20 years, only 146 have achieved that particular goal. And we did it with a perfect score. So we awarded 100% on that accreditation inspection. I'm really proud of my staff. They worked very, very hard to achieve that. We've put several years into preparing programs that would allow us to qualify for accreditation, so it has been a very worthwhile effort. This evening, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about maintenance at the Government Center. I would like to just kind of say, you know, taking care of an old building is kind of like taking care of an old car. You can do the maintenance, you can stick very closely to the manufacturer's recommendations, you can make sure that the oil gets changed, the fluids gets changed, the filters get changed, you can even do major repairs. But when all is said and done, when it hits about 10 or 12 years, you're going to have breakdowns. And that is what we are experiencing now with the Government Center. We have been taking care of the building, and but it has reached that age where things are starting to happen. So let me talk to you a little bit, first about the background so that everybody has kind of is brought up to speed, and then talk to you about some of our maintenance program. The building was opened in 1971. At that time, there was no certificate of occupancy issued. I can only assume, and to my knowledge, the building did not fully meet code at that time, or it would have been awarded a certificate of occupancy. It was built with an open concept. Cubicles were expected to go in, and they only actually built out about 6 or 7 of the 12 floors at that time. So it wasn't completely built out. As times passed, more people moved in, they started building walls instead of cubicles, and then they'd start chopping up those. They'd build a conference room, and a few years later, they decide they need more offices, and they chop that into 3 offices and put up some walls. None of those changes were made very thoughtfully. We have only a handful of the few original drawings, and of course, with the changes that were made over time, no drawings or permits were issued for that work. So none of that work has been documented either. Of concern, the fire alarms were blocked by walls, the air conditioning wasn't modified when the walls were moved, and electrical was run to whatever was convenient. So we have places in the building where to turn off the electric for down here, you have to go up to the other floor. And those changes were not documented. Some of our employees are familiar with where you might have to go and some of those idiosyncrasies, but it's tough. It's not well documented at all. Prior to my arrival here at the end of 2011, changes were made without drawings or permits, as I said. When I came and started looking at this situation, I alerted management of the fragility of the system. I did that in early 12, and we talked about significant issues to do with security, utilities, fire safety, et cetera. We then came back later in 2012 and did an executive closed session with council to talk. That was when we were still in the Government Center, and we talked about the issues that existed with that building. At that time, it was determined that we were going to do a full assessment of the building, and that happened in 2013. 2WR and Faithful and Gould performed that evaluation, that assessment, and they evaluated the cost for renovation or multiple replacement options to fall around $100 million to $120 million. I'm not keeping up, I apologize. They did confirm that all of the systems in the building needed replacement or significant upgrade. Then additional presentations of their findings were made to council, and then we had other sessions with council over time, And following that, a commission was formed to study alternatives. And they spent some time trying to decide which option would be better and made some recommendations to council also. In 2012, I instructed that no work would take place in that building by my staff or anyone else without obtaining a building permit and getting an architect's seal on the drawings to ensure that we weren't making the situation in that building worse. That rule continues in effect today, and we've had some confrontations with folks who wanted to go ahead and do things, and with the support of the city manager, that did not happen. We have stuck to that rule, and we intend to continue to follow with that rule. Several items identified during that assessment were things that we could take care of, and we moved forward with taking care of them. By 2014, we put in a backflow preventer. That was one of the issues they'd identified. We were able to afford that within our existing operating budget. There was a need to look at whether we needed pressure-reducing valves, and that was evaluated, and the recommendations were followed there. So there has been follow-up there from that assessment. Let's see, something's going on. Okay, just briefly, facilities maintenance, my crews, their task is to do all the needed routine maintenance and repair on all the city buildings and the other infrastructure, to include doing custodial work. I have a staff of 30 who do all of those. Out of that, the facilities have only 4 plumbers. Now, we have 600-plus facilities. We have 400-plus sprinkler systems that those plumbers take care of, and then we have 500-plus other infrastructure, everything from public bathrooms to you name it. I would say on the whole that the crew does a phenomenal job, and I bring 35 years of experience in the public works and facilities arena, and I can tell you they do a phenomenal job keeping up with all of that with the staff and the resources they have. We also, pointing the wrong way, okay. We have put in place, we had some contracts in place, we put others in place, and we will continue to refine contracts as we need them to provide professional support. No matter how good you are, you don't know everything about everything. And we're not certified for everything. So we have a specific contractor who takes care of our elevators. We have one that assists us with larger jobs or more complex work on the mechanical systems. We have a contractor who helps us with roofing systems, with fire protection systems, and with our generators. And I could go on and on and on, but I won't spend any more time with it. Every day in the government center, they walk through every mechanical room in that structure, in that complex, and they look at every piece of machinery to see if they can spot any problems. They walk around the outside of the building twice per day. They check, the elevators have a computer, and they check that computer every day to make sure that there are no glitches going on with our elevators. They check the lift station pumps every single day to make sure that those lift stations continue to operate. On a not less than daily basis, we purchased infrared equipment so that we can check the mechanical rooms. If you've got bearings that are starting to wear, they heat up, and we can identify those in advance of a problem with the infrared cameras. We also do infrared checks of the electrical system about every 3 months because we want to make sure there are no hot spots there either. We do load tests on the generators once per month, and we run the generator once every week without putting a load on it to make sure that it turns off and on and off properly. We do the checks, monthly checks of the HVAC system, and we change filters, and we do all of the needed maintenance and the manufactured recommended maintenance. And then we also check Freon, for example, and we have a contractor who will recharge if we're finding that the Freon is low. And again, there's a long list of things they do that I don't need to get into, but they do follow manufacturers' recommendations. This is a very important point. We don't just patch. If we have a problem, we take the time to analyze what has caused it. It's like the doctor giving you something for the flu, but not trying to, for pain or a headache, and not trying to figure out why you have a headache. We try to make sure. And when we do, that's resulted in identification of some more systemic problems. The two largest ones that I thought I would mention were those hot water lines where we found a rusted out connector and we had a leak. Instead of just fixing it, we started looking at what caused it and whether we had similar situations throughout the building. And we ended up with a contract to fix a couple of hundred of those because dissimilar metals had been used throughout the building. We also, as you know, buildings built in 71 don't have the same electrical requirements as we do today. We've added computers, we've added all kinds of doohickeys and doodads, and all of them draw power. Our systems became overloaded, and rather than try to do a total retrofit, which is expensive, we started doing things like installing LED lighting, which significantly reduced the load throughout the building, also saved us on our electrical bills. And so we have been doing things like that with forethought and to be as proactive as possible to eliminate future crises when we can. We're also responsible for the structure. We, a couple of years ago, had a bad crack in one of the windows up on the 11th floor. That was not an easy thing for us to deal with, but it was clearly part of our what we're responsible for, and we took care of it. Let's see. The generators, went out a few years ago, and this is what it looked like when it finally completely blew. That generator is sitting in the basement. The building was built around it. We cannot get it out, which is why we have a generator sitting out on the street. This is a gate valve that in one of our systems, gate valves tend to stick and break if there's any grit in the system. And I hate to tell you, but with a building from 71, there's a lot of grit in that system these days. Plumbing is, without question, our most challenging and problematic and complicated system to work on. We have cutoff valves on all of our fixtures, but they are the original fixtures that came, valves that came with those fixtures. On all 196 sinks and 197 toilets and urinals, but they are fragile, and we really need to systematically go through the building and replace every one of those gate valves with a ball valve, because we know that's a sticking point. At this time, and I need to explain this to you just so you understand the complexity of what we deal with, because we don't have gate valves on every floor, when we need to do mechanical work, we've got to shut the building off, the water off to the entire building and drain it down. So before we do that on a Saturday morning, we go through and try to identify anything and everything that might need to be fixed that weekend. And we get scheduled so that we have the right materials and people there. So we go to drain the whole building. We literally start at the top and start opening up valve. We shut off the water outside. We start opening up the valve on every sink, and we go from floor to floor to floor. It takes 3 hours to drain down to the second floor. And once we get there, we have about 45 minutes left, because after that, the cooling towers start draining, pressure starts dropping in the fire system, and we end up with all the fire alarms going off and other major issues. We start working at the top and follow the water down so that we have enough time to get those repairs done. But at the end of that 3 hours and 45 minutes, we have to go back and turn the water back on, or we have major issues. So then we turn the water back on, and we go back up to the top, and we stand and wait until all the water gets out of the line and the faucets that are open start draining again. And once they're running fully in the sinks and the air is out of the lines, then we can start turning them off. We flush the toilets a couple of times, but we have no way other than that to drain the air. And we go from floor to floor to floor doing that on every floor. And then they go back up to the top, and they check everything to make sure we haven't got any more leaks. And then they also flush the toilets a couple of more times to try to ensure that we get as much air out of the lines as possible. And then eventually, after about the third time through the building, they leave the building. And you need to note that still, that many flushes, there are still times when they go away, and a half hour later, somebody in the building flushes the toilet, and it blows a line apart. And then we're back in there trying to do the same thing that we were doing before. We start at the top and turn off the water and drain the system. It is painful, it is time-consuming. I can't tell you how much overtime we use, and it is very, very inefficient and ineffective. Let's see. So, what do we need to do? Hang on. We need to replace, I'm shifting gears here a little bit, but we also need to replace all the drain lines to include roof drains. All of those drains, sewage drains and roof drains, so whether it's stormwater or sanitary, are made out of cast iron, and they are beginning to split. And usually they split on the top of the pipe, not the bottom. So things will go along perfectly fine until we had a day when a certain number of people flushed the toilet all at one time, and suddenly you've got sewage dripping down. And we're going in trying to figure out where the split is. We cannot see it from the floor, and we're trying to figure out what's going on there. If we do that work, we have to do it nights and weekends if we can, because it's noisy. We have to cut that cast iron. That interferes with the courts and other work. And so if we eventually get to this, we're going to need a time and materials contract. We're going to need assistance from a contractor. And then we're going to have to pray that nobody flushes the toilet up above us while all that work is going on. And we do repairs on a fairly regular basis on that system because it's starting to crack pretty often. You can see the crack there, I think, pretty clearly. And that's very typical of some of the things we're dealing with. This is a location where it just deteriorated to the point where it fell apart. So it cracked all the way around. And you can see how much gunk is in there. Since 1971, those pipes have been there and accumulating stuff. Now, this is on one of the floors, on the 11th floor. You can see the cast iron pipe up there, and it is way up in the air. So you can understand that it's not that easy to ascertain where a leak might be coming from because it's coming from somewhere up there. And it takes special equipment to get in. It means working over their heads. It's very uncomfortable. And this is kind of give you an idea of the condition of some of those drain pipes. We are constantly trying to flush them out. Some of them will flush, some of them will not. And that creates a challenge for our work crews too. Building access. Many of the occupants over the years have changed the locks on their doors, and we no longer have access to a lot of areas. So if we have a flood over the weekend, we have no idea what might be going on in those locked areas. We are going to go through and change the cylinders and put in a master key system. We've been, yes. So we have probably 150 offices and locations we can't get into. So we're going to need to go back. That's going to be roughly $50,000 to get back to a master key system. I feel like I missed something because I was talking about the plumbing, but we do need to replace the ball valves with those other valves. And so, let's see, I've lost track, I'm sorry. In addition to that, what was recommended and what still remains to be done is we need to pressurize the stairwells for fire safety, which means installing vent fans and replacing doors. That's not work that can be done by our crews, but it still was identified during that evaluation of the building and still remains to be fixed. The fire alarm systems, I can't go in and put in a fire alarm because I have to put in whatever is current to code, and our current infrastructure in the core won't support the new fire alarms with strobes and the other required things. So we have to do that center core to provide that. If we do that, we need to replace the fire alarms throughout the building to make sure that every place can hear the fire alarms, see the fire alarms, and can respond to them. We also, the air conditioning system, the controls that are there, quite honestly, are so outdated. The company's gone bankrupt. It's proprietary. We actually can't do anything, and we need to replace the controls in order to be able to get some amount of control over the conditions in the various and sundry offices. All of that said, if we're going to replace the valve, put valves on each floor so we can shut off, and we've been working on this, and I did miss the slide, the valves, there are 3, we have to have 3 on each floor, but things have changed so much that we do not, and we don't have drawings, we do not know where to place all of those valves in order to be able to actually shut off the water on a given floor. We are working with the contractor right now trying to evaluate where those points might be, because it's just not a clean, this line takes care of this floor. In addition, we have to have a valve for the hot water, a valve for the cold water, and a valve for the recirculating water on each of the floors. Inspections and Codes has already been trying to find a contractor to work on these with us, and quite honestly, they're all reluctant to take it on because it is so complex and it's such a puzzle. But we need to keep moving forward and try to make it happen one way or the other. If we want to change the gate valves to ball valves, it's going to cost about $80,000. The lock replacement will be about $50,000. The drain line replacement will be about $2.5 million. And the AC controls will be about $800,000. That's a total of $3.48 million worth of work that is badly needed as soon as we can identify a source of funds. In addition to that, those 3 fire safety issues, the fire alarm system it will cost around $600. Pressurizing the stairwells will cost around $850. And installing a sprinkler system, which is mentioned pretty often and was in that assessment, it will be about $1 million. So for fire safety, we're talking $2.45 million for a total of $5.93 million. That is not everything that needs to be done. But if we're going to replace the building somewhere down the road, we need to make a decision to invest and move forward with some of these projects. The facilities in Public Works will continue to do what we can with the resources and manpower we have, but it will take some additional money to contract. And council will eventually need to make a decision about the future of that building, whether to renovate or tear it down as recommended by the consultants we hired in 2013. Questions?
So, Madam Mayor, with that, they are here to answer any questions, but I can tell you I asked the Public Works Director to put together this maintenance status update of the Government Center building. We are going to have to come to a position that we're either going to have to renovate that building or we are going to have to construct a new building. There's just no way around it. We need to spend significant dollars to be able to stay in that building for some period of time. And I've talked to staff, and even if we were going to consider, let's say, a special purpose local option sales tax that would provide dollars to renovate or construct a new building, let's say that we were going to do that in 2020. If dollars were made available to us through a special purpose local option sales tax, and you allowed or issued bonds that we were able to advance the dollars and go ahead and complete or move forward with a project to renovate or tear down, construct new, or construct new somewhere else, I asked staff, how long would that take? Is that a 3-year, 5-year, 6-year, 8-year period? In other words, you'd have to get the dollars in hand, you'd have to get architects involved, you'd have to do all the engineering work, you'd have to go through a bid process, which would be lengthy, do all the things you got to do, and once you go through the review with council and select a construction vendor, then construction is going to take 2-3 years to get it done. You're looking at 6 or 8 years, even if you had money in hand today to renovate or construct new. So I've asked staff, identify those things that we must do, that we need to do, if we're going to be in that building another 6 years, 8 years. And so I've asked them to start identifying systems that we need to update, because we've got employees coming into that building every day, those buildings, and we've got the public, and we've got courts, and we've got everything going on. And again, we know that if we had dollars today, we'd end up 5, 6, 8 years down the road before you could turn a key and move into a renovated building or a new building. And so we are going to have to spend significant dollars just to stay in that building until we do something different. And in all likelihood, we're going to spend money that we are going to have to come back, and in the renovation process, a lot of it, you're going to lose it. You know, but what do we need to do to stay in the building right now to continue to conduct the people's business? And those are the numbers that she's throwing out to you tonight, the systems that we've got to take care of, and we got to find the money. And so that's why I've separated, this is the maintenance piece of it, and they are working every day with a challenging building, trying to maintain it. And so after you've asked them, the questions that you have, then we're going to come and talk to you about the repairs as a result of the flooding, what construction work needs to be done, our dealings with the insurance company, and the timeline. Wait until you hear the timeline for just doing this. And we're going to remind you of some timelines where we've had some other situations, like at Comer, like at the annex building when we had the issue there, like at Fire Station 11. From the time it burned, or we had the damage at Comer, until the time we resolved it with the insurance company and they were able to move in, they're going to tell you about it. And so they're going to tell you about the timeline for getting back to normal business at the government center. But Pat Biegler and her staff are here to answer any questions about maintenance. Madam Mayor.
It doesn't look like we have questions on maintenance at this time, so maybe move on to John, and maybe there'll be questions when the entire presentation's concluded.
Okay, well, and so don't go anywhere, just wait, and we're going to have Inspections and Codes Director John Hutchinson and our Deputy City Manager for Finance, Planning, and Development, Pam Hodge.
Good evening, Council. I'll kind of fly through a few of these just to kind of give you an update again. Like we've talked previously about Incident 1. So that's the 10th and 11th floors continue to be off limits, but 9th floor and below are available. Incident 2, 4, 3, and 2 are open for citizens and will be operational as repairs continue. We've nullified the air quality concerns. We had some concerns about that, and we tested the tower and the wings, so we didn't have any concerns with any of that. Just kind of a recap of the working conditions so people can kind of see what we have going on, how some of the areas are being kind of cordoned off and how people are dealing with missing ceiling tiles and things like that. One of the pros about this project is that we've kind of been able to divvy up these sections you see here between ServPro, the buildings, the content, the labor and utilities between different departments. So we've had, instead of typically in the past when we get a claim, it's kind of mostly on engineering and public works to kind of sift through all of this and then get it done. But ideally with this one, because it was a major project and we were dealing with one of the major buildings here in the city, different departments have helped separate all this work. So my job was kind of more on the building side. We had risk management kind of do more on the contents and ServPro. We've had finance help us with the utilities. We've had everybody's kind of keeping track of labor costs. So we're able to split the claim up into different departments instead of kind of sequential. All these things are being attacked simultaneously. So I'll show you the timeline, which has definitely been in our favor. ServPro, if we've talked before, they've completed all their finishing, their cleanup right now. The only part they will come back to do, depending on the contents that are in the building, that the contents adjuster did not consider a total loss, that they will have to come and clean, physically come back and clean. So that's a cost that they will have to incur at that point. This is the first two claim numbers that we've been given, and this is just for the mechanical and electrical. So this is mechanical, electrical, low voltage, and the camera work. Total about $271,000 for floors 11 through 5. And for floors 4 through 2, about $34,000. So that's roughly over $300,000 from the claim, and that's just the mechanical and electrical work. That's not any drywall, any of that kind of stuff. That's just electrical work that needs to be replaced, lights that needs to be replaced, receptacles, some of the mechanical controls we were having issues with. That's just that side of the house. If we're meeting the building general contractor that we're talking with, they're working on their part, so you can see some of the extent of work that needs to be done. That flooring that needs to be put back in, that drywall needs to be brought back down to the ground, the vinyl, all that needs to be done, and that's a part of the contractor's work for him to come in to do. And so once those numbers are finalized, we'll bring those back to council, and that'll also, once those have been approved by the insurance company. Contents, there's everything that wasn't more or less nailed down, anything that's in the building, from furniture, bookcases, computers, all that kind of stuff. The contents adjuster has completed their work. We're waiting to hear back from the insurance company, the official number from that. But once again, we tried to kind of do some of these things simultaneously. So we actually got the moving contents, so that's to move all the material, because ideally the contractor needs kind of a clean slate. He doesn't need to be going over somebody's desk to be putting carpet in and things like that. So we have a cost that's been approved from the insurance company for a little over $16,000 to move the materials out of the building as construction goes on and to move them back in. So that number, typically the numbers I have in here have been approved currently by the insurance claim. So we have everything from them. Like I told you, mentioned a few slides before, all the departments from sheriff, risk management, public works, IT, engineering, inspections and codes, all of us are keeping up with our hours to submit as a final usage claim as a part of the claim due to labor. And utilities, obviously we had the tens of thousands of gallons of water that was released in the building, so obviously that would affect our utility bill for that month, depending on what happened because of the leak. So finance is looking and breaking down based off of that building what we would normally pay and then what we paid in that month to hopefully recoup some of that cost as well. And also the electricity for running humidifiers 24/7 and that kind of thing, which has increased our power bill. So the next steps here, to complete negotiation with the insurance company. Literally, I have a 2-hour meeting with them tomorrow to try to get us to a happy medium where everyone agrees to the cost of the work to be done. So we're literally going to go through line by line. I have 314 pages on the first claim and about 171 in the second claim. So we're literally just going to go through it and make sure we're all apples to apples. So if they agree to something, we had a few issues that we've already noticed off top that would reduce the general contractor's cost that the insurance has agreed to. And there's certain things we'll just have to, sit down and figure out how do we get to the end of it. The intent is to bring that proposal once the insurance approves that number to authorize the contractor to perform the work sometime in September 2018, hopefully by the 11th. I'd love to come and have something ready then. It's just depending on the insurance approving the number that we submit to them. The contractor that we've talked to has projected a 4-month timeline. So they will work 24/7 on floors 10 and 11 as we go for that whole 4-month period. And then we'll have to work out scheduling with courts and make sure we're not disturbing anything that they have going on for those following months. So ideally, we'd like to have the government center back up in normal operations January, February of 2019. If, like I said, if this timeline continues the way it is, ideally, that's when we'd like to have everybody back in the building, open to the public, all the elevators running, no dividers between that, all of it open back to previous use. Just for comparison's sake, I've unfortunately been with the city long enough to deal with all of these in claim situations and dealing with the insurance. So take the annex, which we had a rain event in June of 2011. It was another 8 months before we had the work authorized by council officially to bring you all to approve in March of 2012. The Comer Gym, when we had the roof failure, that was in September of 11. We worked with the insurance company, and that was another 7 months, and that was brought forward in April of 2012 for approval from council. Fire station number 11, November of 15, when it caught fire. We didn't have numbers to bring to council until April of 2017. But the way we've worked this new project from when the incident happened in June to September is only 3 months. And we're almost to the point of having a final number approved from the insurance company to proceed with construction. So I would like to say that we kind of say, but the way we divvied up the different tasks up under the claim has definitely helped and expedite the process. So that's where we stand right now, and I'll take any questions.
Questions for John?
So, Madam Mayor, that's the repair, construction, and our dealings with the insurance and the timeline as we see it today. As Director Hutchison said, he's going to meet with the insurance people tomorrow. There are a lot of documents to go through, and the adjuster will come in and look at things. As you know, if you've ever had an incident at your home, the adjuster will come in and do an assessment and say that here are the things that I found, and here's the cost that we're going to allow to get those things done. And then you'll have, once we engage our construction company, they'll come in and they will do an assessment of the building, and they'll say that these are all the things that we need to do. And the desire is that those two things match up for what needs to be done and the cost for getting them done. But they don't always match up. And then that's where the construction company got to do a walkthrough with adjusters and say, you didn't see this and this has to be done, or you said this would be done and you put a price on it of this, and here's our cost for that. And the adjuster can go out and get someone else to look at it, another company, and then they come to an agreement. They do that with your car. Your adjuster come out and tell you it's going to cost $5,000 to repair your car. You take it to the repair shop put it up, put it on the jack, and say, no, they didn't see under the car, the undercarriage, that, no, that's another $1,000. They call the adjuster out. The adjuster looks at it and say, I agree, and it's $6,000. That's how it's going to work, or that's how it works, even with what we've got to get done. So that's what we anticipate. That's why he's involved, and as an architect, and inspections and codes, and we're going to have the insurance people, we're going to have the construction people, and we're going to have to come to an agreement. That's where we are.
All right, we've got Councilor Thomas.
Mr. Hutchison, I have a question about the slide that you said next steps there, that you are hoping to bring a proposal to us in September, and the contractor projects a 120-day timeline. As I understood what you were saying, that does not include the kind of work that Ms. Bigler was talking about. This is simply to get us back to where we can move those judges back into their courtrooms and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is just the previous condition of the building. So none of the improvements that that Director Bigler mentioned.
Well, it seems to me, Mayor, that, excuse me, we have a two-pronged situation here. One is our immediate, what are we going to do? And that's what Mr. Hutchinson is saying he's going to do for tomorrow, starting, continue tomorrow with the insurance company. And then, well, maybe even a three-prong. Some of the things that Ms. Bigler said we need to do, whether we tear that building down or do anything else to that building or not. And then the third thing is, so what are we going to do overall? And I haven't seen, and I don't want anybody to take this wrong. I think you folks are doing a hell of a job. You are doing what needs to be done, and you are looking out for the citizens of Columbus and their money. But I don't see any plan to hit all of those buttons. How are we going to do that? How are we going to make those decisions? How are we going to know that we need to replace that fire system and we need to do it right now, but we can't do it until we replace the entire building? And are we going to tear the building down? Are we just going to?
Well,
Can you tell I'm very frustrated?
The point that the reason she's here tonight and presenting maintenance short-term, that's it, short-term, that 5.9 million or whatever it was, those things we have, and that's why I mentioned, even if we had money today, it'd take 5, 6, 8 years. Those things are short-term that we want to do as soon as we can identify dollars. We want to start a process to start getting those systems taken care of to allow us to be in that building without renovation and without going to a new building for the next 6 to 8 years. Because we're going to have to be there 6 to 8 years.
Well, Mr. City Manager, let me just say, and it's a dilemma. It's a full-fledged dilemma. So I'm not here to offer any singular solution. I will say this, there are other options, and they all have political consequences, and so council's going to have to make some tough decisions. But I'm sure it's bothersome to a lot of folks here at this table and maybe watching that there's even being a proposal that $3.5 million would be poured into a building that.
5 point, yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe 5 point, I guess, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the one page. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, 5.9, excuse me. $5.9 million would be poured into a building that has to be fundamentally gutted and redone. And so that's just like, to me, I'm sorry to be dramatic, burning it in a big, trash can or something, because you're putting in that $6 million for a short period of time. You keep saying six years, which would be true if you went for the SPLOST, which I appreciate is a way that we've talked about doing it before. Absolutely could do it again. But you need to understand the school board may want that SPLOST. We may have to negotiate with them a little bit. They've been kind about it so far, but you don't know what political winds will blow in the future and what needs they may have. You also, just have some other issues. And so there is the opportunity that I talked about before of going to the building authority, issuing a bond, beginning the design and the construction process as quickly as possible. Now, it's not going to be done in, a year, but it could be done in 24 months, perhaps.
Well, no.
But I'd like to see some proposals on that, because I've seen huge buildings go up in Atlanta in 24 months. So, if we couldn't renovate. But the other thing I think we need to, and so I'm with Councilor Thomas on, I'd like to see a plan on what it would cost and what the proposal would be to completely gut the building we have and redo it, to take down the wings, possibly build things there. Those are the types of proposals I think we need to see. And the other thing I would say that I keep hearing a lot of folks talk about in the community, sometimes it's elected officials, sometimes it's just citizens that are concerned, is I think we need to hear from the professionals that know that we cannot renovate this building floor by floor. It seems like such a common sense proposal of, let's start at the 11th floor, let's gut it, completely redo it, put in new pipes, put in new fire systems, put in all new everything, electrical. And everything I keep hearing from all the professionals is that cannot be done because the systems can't support the new stuff.
Because of the way it was
Because of the way
built.
that it was built originally.
Originally.
So you can do that, but you can't light up this 11th floor once it's finished. You can't light up the 10th floor once it's finished. You can't move into these floors until the whole thing is finished. And so I think it would be helpful for us to see a methodical plan of those options, and you and I disagree on the length of going by the building authority and issuing a bond and being able to service that bond with what has historically been our debt service amount, and finding some other creative ways that Pam has found where we have money for economic development that we put aside and we hold for particular projects that we could put towards this for debt service, and some other things that would be fiscally prudent that would shave 2 or more years off of the timeline that you've given. Because the timeline you've given proposes that we go out on a SPLOST in 2020, which is at least 2 years away. And then, of course, the money has to start being collected, and then you have to start doing all that.
I agree
that primer.
with you. If council makes a decision that they're going to go another route in terms of financing, then it would not be 6 to 8 years. It would be something less.
But we can't make that decision without more information about what that's going to do. That's my frustration, is that I can't tell either one of you tonight that you're right or that you're wrong, because I don't have the information. I am not I'm not an authority on that. There are people who are authorities that can come and, advise us on what we need to do, and that's what I'm looking for, is how are we going to get the advice that we need as a council in order to move forward. And Ms. Bigler, I just have to tell you, the thing that you said to me, that you said tonight, that just knocked my socks off more than anything, is that there's $50,000 worth of keys, locks that people, I worked in that building. It never occurred to me that I had the authority to change the lock on my door.
It's elected.
And so,
it's, that was one of the biggest surprises.
And that's why, Councilor Thomas, we, back in 2012, we instituted a policy. We have people wanting to put ceiling fans in. We don't want you even painting in your, we just don't do anything. And we're not doing it without an architectural stamp, seal, and without getting the same building permit that we expect others to go through in a process when they're going to alter their building or their home. But what we're going to do, we're going to bring back, whether we go through the building authority as an option, the school district's education SPLOST expires June of 2020, and the T-SPLOST expires in 2022. And so those are, if we did go through a process now without waiting on those dates, what the timeline would be, and then if we wait on either of those dates, what the timeline would be, and then we're going to do all the things that you've talked about to bring you more information on what the strategy would be and how it would work. And so
What I would like for you to bring to us too, Mr. City Manager, is I can't make a decision on whether or not the amount of money that we're going to try to raise in a SPLOST or on a bond issue is the right amount of money without having information from the people who know, from the professionals who build buildings all the time and can tell me what we need to do in that building. And we make a decision, are we going to tear the wings down? I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I think
Because those decisions haven't been made because they haven't been talked about by this body, which is the body that will be making those decisions.
Well, I thought the Mayor's Commission offer
Yeah,
it.
and it did, but I'll tell you this that's come, because we've had a lot of discussions, I just think that there's no way around having the discussions right here. It's, council feels more comfortable that way. You know, I just think that the commission was helpful, but we all know, you know, it gave a price tag of $100 million, which is sticker shock, but nobody's going to give you a better estimate until you have a more refined plan, because you're just asking them for some conceptual building that might look like something. And so they just throw some numbers at
Well,
you.
and you know, you
so,
have,
yeah,
you have to pay for that.
Right, and so, and you have to be willing to pay for that, which we couldn't do in the mayor's
Yeah.
commission. But I will say this, I think that, and we've got some folks queued up, I think if we could come back at the next meeting and continue the conversation on your agenda with more refined proposal of if we did it this way and if we did it that way.
Sure.
What that would mean, as much information as we have, then council could direct, I want more information on this and more information on that. Now, you know, just from the professionals I've talked to, and you guys will hear, the closer we get to what a design would look like, which is going to be awfully far down the road, is when you start getting more refined numbers. So there's no doubt that off that 100 million, there's probably 10 or $20 million that could be shaved off. I mean, at least, you know, it just depends on what you're going to do. But you're going to have to get a little further down the road of what it is you want. So, but there's a lot of decisions to be made before then.
Councilor Thomas, I hear what you're asking, and we'll try and move in that direction with coming back with that.
Let's see, we've got Councilor Woodson.
I just had a question, because I was just checking with Gary, make sure I wasn't dreaming. But I thought something came to us where there was 3 different designs with 3 different dollar amounts that was presented to us. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I said that was the mayor's commission.
That was the
That would
mayor's
give you, and that
commission?
would give you, we can resend that, that would give you a good basis to understand what's already been done and what the proposals are, but those proposals could be very much refined.
Okay, and also the school system, when they did their bidding for Spencer High School, they did a, what was it, a refined?
Remember what it's called, master contractor?
A master contract or something,
Sure.
that it cost was it a master contract? They did what was called a master contracting, and, you know, it came way below budget. Maybe we can get with the school system to see how they did the proposal of Spencer High School. We're all thinking it's called a major
design
contract.
build, design build kind of
CM
thing?
at risk.
CM at
That's how
risk?
we did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, there was a proposal, and because of that method, they were able to just change things
Well,
on
that's what we
their
did
own.
with this building,
Oh, that's what they did with this
when
one?
we built this building, yes.
Okay, and they saved millions, and it's an outstanding building, I mean, and it's
Yeah.
a state-of-the-art
But
building,
we could save
too.
millions too when we get down there, down to the point of being able to value engineer. We just,
So let us, we'll work on that, we know.
all right. We've got
work on it.
Counselor Allen.
Would you have enough time if we were to have a work session on the 18th? Because I think this is the 18th of September,
Is
to
that,
talk about, to
Well-
get everybody judicial in here and sit down and talk, get the consultants that Council Thomas is talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we have a work session on the 18th.
No, that's a.
No, I'm saying would,
If you call
if
one.
we call one
Oh,
for the
yeah.
18th, would that give you enough time? to
I
get
think we
everybody
could try and work something. Yeah, I'll have to wait, see if schedules will work out and all that, but yeah, if you get a call meeting,
it'd have to be in the morning.
yeah, it'd have to be a morning, because,
Oh, well, I can't be here at night.
Yeah.
Can you? So, anyway.
we could do a morning meeting.
Anyway, okay. I think that that's very well taken, Counselor Allen. A work session could be something we could get a
We
lot
can
of
work on
folks
them.
here. And I know counselors have said that they have trusted experts that they'd like to hear from, and maybe we can invite those people to come and at least listen. And if they want to speak, then they can speak and so forth. And we certainly have a lot of folks who've already worked on this pro
Yeah.
bono, you know,
Yeah.
gratis for us, and they would be here to lend their expertise as
Sure.
well. Okay?
We can work on a date for a work session.
Okay.
All right, we've got Counselor Pugh.
We also gonna have to think about what judges want,
I think what?
what the judges want and need in the courtrooms, because this building is gonna be more geared toward judges than anything else.
Yeah, most certainly. I would say, you know, it's kind of like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? There's almost a necessary preliminary decision to make before you get down. I agree with you, it's going to be predominantly a judicial building. But it seems to me that before you start deciding what the building is going to look like or, you know, is which way you're going to go with this. And I think that being whether you do a bond or whether you do the SPLOST, and I think you'll have a very good sense of what decision you'd like to make once you see a timeline and, you know, once you see how various things could be funded. So that could be the first part of the presentation. And then, but some of that design work related to the judiciary has already been done in the commission. So that would be at least a starting point. Okay, so we're looking at this 18th and then maybe some other dates too?
Well, maybe, unless you want to do a morning on the 18th, I was just thinking maybe we could do something early October.
Okay.
And that way, we got more time to pull people together and have enough information to have a good discussion. If that's okay with you all.
Okay, why don't you just get with, you know, Lindsay and see what dates might work, and let's do it.
If there are no other questions, Madam Mayor, I am going to, I know you're going to be crushed, but I'll delay the transportation update. And, but the Finance Monthly update is not the traditional update, it's just sharing information, and it won't take but just a couple of minutes. Our Finance Director, Angelica, is going to come with that.
Good evening. As the city manager mentioned, this isn't the typical finance update. I do plan to bring that in September. We are still working on closing out FY18. We're still posting receivables. So the update wouldn't be very useful at this particular point. But I will be back in September giving the normal finance update. But as you may recall, we've had to change our external auditors just due to situations beyond or circumstances beyond the control of Albright, Fortenberry, and Ninus. They were unable to conduct our FY18 audit this year. Council has since approved a new contract with a new auditing firm, Malden & Jenkins. They actually arrived on site yesterday. So one of the things that I sort of want to talk to council about, because one of the things that any new auditor would do would be to review prior year's management letters just to make sure that we have taken appropriate action to any concerns that they may have raised in that letter. One of the items in particular that I wanted to brief council on was the bank reconciliation process. I don't know if you remember, but as part of the management letter last year, the auditors expressed concern with me performing the bank reconciliation just because I have certain approval authorities, just being the finance director. And so my response to that concern was that I would train appropriate staff, additional finance staff, to perform the reconciliation so that I would not have to do it. And that plan was actually put into place. However, since then, we've had to change plans because that individual is no longer with the city. So unfortunately, well, I guess it's unfortunate because I'm actually having to take this task back on, but I am able, there's still someone here that's able to do it. I am performing the bank reconciliation for FY18 at this particular point, but they are being reviewed by our Deputy City Manager, Pam Hodge. She also has the knowledge and know-how of performing the bank reconciliation. So I'm doing it, she's reviewing it. That's just where we are right now. We are currently still trying to fill this budget analyst position. And so until that vacancy has been filled, I'm the person.
Well, and so let me just say it in a couple of sentences why I wanted her to come, because in the audit finding, she was doing the reconciliation and verifying, and she had only done it that 1 year, and they said, that can't happen. So she was going to train the staff to do the reconciliations, and she did, and that staff is no longer with us. So that puts it back to her doing the reconciliation. So that staff was going to do the reconciliation, and then she would verify and sign off on it as finance director. So what I've done, because that person is no longer with us, she's going to do the reconciliation, and the deputy city manager for finance, planning, and development is going to verify and sign off until she's able to get a person back and trained and doing it within her department. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
And you might say, and I know I probably should stop talking, but you may say, well, why not train more people, right? The bank reconciliation process for us is a very manual process. It's actually the first thing that I was tasked with when I was hired with the city 10 years ago. And so I'm very knowledgeable of the process. I've been doing it for a very long time, just throughout my different capacities. And the position that I actually started out in with the finance department is currently unfunded. So this very manual task has been shifted from its original position to another position. And so it's just hard to.
Well, yeah, because I want to move on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the bottom line is, her staff person, it's all done internally. Her staff person does the reconciliation, and she approves. Now she's going to do the reconciliation, and the deputy city manager is going to approve.
Until
And
staff
so-
is hired.
Until another time. So we wanted you to be aware of that.
Right.
And I believe that the deputy city manager of finance, planning and development is very capable and qualified to do that, in as much as she's the former finance director and she has an accounting background and can do it. So thank you so much.
Yes.
So with that, Madam Mayor, I have one announcement. Our Hometown Connection, if you would put this on your schedule, is October 11th. We're going to start at 9:30 a.m. because we're going to do a bus tour, and we'd ask that you block your schedule from 9:30 until 1:30. Please, October 11th, Hometown Connection, 9:30 to 1:30, and we're going to send you an email. And we've already confirmed that date with the delegation, so we'll send you a notice out. With that, Madam Mayor, if there are no questions, I'm done with my agenda.
Okay.
October 11th, 9:30 a.m. Until 1:30 p.m. And we'll send a notice out.
All right, we have Councilor Huff.
Mr. City Manager, if you would, for the listening audience, if you would explain in your quickest manner how we go about contracting out for lawns and what the prisoners do against what the contracting people do when we have calls of overgrowth and everything, if you can do that quickly.
How we go about contracting it out?
Well, no, just the fact that what the process is, because I was telling them we're backed up because of the rain and contracting and things of that nature.
Yes, for those people where we've determined that they're in violation, their grass or weed is 18 inches or taller, we go out and we do a request to comply. We give them 10 days. And when we go back, if they've not complied or we can't find them, then we have contracts with local vendors, and we will do a work order to have a local vendor contractor to go out, mow the grass, the weed, clean it all up, remove solid waste, and then there's an invoice that we pay. And then we put a lien on that property, and so that property owner cannot sell that property or do anything with that property until they satisfy the lien that the city has on that property.
And due to the rains and things, we're a little bit behind right now.
Due to the rain, we are behind on city mowing.
Okay,
And they may very well be behind on their mowing in residential neighborhoods.
okay.
But we are going to issue the citation to them on residential property if it's 18 inches or taller,
Okay, so I can make the phone call letting them know it will happen soon?
regardless of the rain, because it didn't just get that way
Okay,
on a residential property.
okay.
And so we're going to cite them.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we have Counselor Barnes.
What I've been telling, because I know all of us are getting calls, and we have been getting a lot of rain. And so I do know, I have found out that the crews are behind. So I've been telling everyone that, you know, they're about maybe 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks behind because of the rain.
Yes.
And once I explained it to them, then they understand. I said, I know you're impatient. I know it does look bad, and I'm talking specifically, by the way, about the city-owned areas and the right-of-ways.
Right.
They're horrendous.
Yes.
But when I explained to the people, you know, we've had this rain, and you know, we only have so many crews.
Right.
But I'm telling them, which I'm hoping I'm guessing correctly, because I did speak to someone, about 4 to 5 weeks that they're behind.
We are several weeks behind, and on city right-of-way, it's that Bahalia, that grass. And I can tell you, you know, even on Steam Mill Road, my lawn is mowed once a week by a contractor at my house. But up by the road, on Steam Mill Road, they mow my lawn on Friday, every Friday. And you come by there on Sunday, and you wonder, did they mow it? Because my contractor mows the right-of-way as well. And so I can tell you from my own personal experience, from a contractor mowing my grass once a week, if it rains and the public works can't get out there and it goes a week, it is going to grow back on the right-of-way. It's just that simple. And so they are doing the best they can with all the rain, but they are behind.
All it takes is an explanation.
Yes.
People realize that.
Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, great. We will now turn it over to the clerk, Lindsay Glisson.
Madam Mayor and Council, on the clerk's agenda, item number 1 is a biographical sketch for John Steed. This is Councilor Davis's nominee for the Columbus Aquatics Commission. Items 2 through 5 are various street closures. Item number 6 is a request from the Public Safety Advisory Commission requesting that the seat of Reverend Adrian Chester be declared vacant.
We got a motion and second. All those in favor, please state aye. We've got a motion and a second that the minutes of the Airport Commission, the Board of Tax Assessors, the Gulf Authority, the Housing Authority, the Planning Advisory Commission, the Public Safety Advisory Commission, and the Uptown Facade Board be received. All those in favor, please state aye.
On the Board of Health, Councilor Huff is nominating Dr. Alapan, and Councilor Barnes, I believe, has some information for a nominee going forward.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a vacancy in January, and it will be Dr. Sylvester McCrae. He just put his name down, nominee.
Yes, sir. On the Board of Honor. Thank you, Councilor Allen. We will bring these back at the next meeting. For the Columbus Aquatics Commission, since Councilor Davis is not present to officially nominate this person, would someone else like to nominate them? Okay. All right, well, John P. Steed. We'll bring this back at the next meeting. On the Columbus Ironworks Convention and Trade Center Authority, Mayor Tomlinson is working on a nominee for this seat. Community Development Advisory Council, District 3 and District 6, we still need nominees, and Councilor House is nominating Mr. Danny Archansiba, and he can be confirmed.
We've got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
On the Circle Commission, we have 2 seats open, and we are working with Ms. Maddie Hall on a replacement for one of these seats. On the Comprehensive Plan Stakeholders Committee, District 10, on the Liberty District Advisory Committee, Councilor Baker is nominating Mr. Gamache, is that correct? Gamache, excuse me, and he can be confirmed.
got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
On the Recreation Advisory Board, District 1 and 5, we need nominees for those seats. On the Medical Center Hospital Authority, Counselor Thomas is nominating John Hargrove, Murray Solomon, and Tracy Sayers for the seat of Mr. Warren Steele. And we can go ahead and make a motion to send them over.
We got a motion and second. All those in favor, please state aye.
We'll forward this information over to the authority. On the Tree Board, Cassie Renfro, her seat is still open. On the Youth Advisory Council, District 1 and 2 and 9, we still need nominees for those seats. And Counselor House has nominated Spencer Robinson for District 10.
We've got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Great, okay. Well, hold on a second. We've got the Mayor Pro Tem.
Lindsay,
Yes, ma'am.
when you get a chance, please check with Reverend Chester. About that.
I did speak with him.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything further? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.